Hello, this is the March chat with fans. Not a lot in the way of announcements. Just I've been videos coming one way or another. At the moment, what sort of happened was I was working on Freeman's Mind, but then we hit kind of a snag. The person helping me mod the map, and if you saw the last one, you can see we're gonna have to figure out something to get through there. But since there was a delay on that, I started working on other videos I've been meaning to make for months, and now I kind of don't want to stop. I'm gonna keep working on Freeman's Mind, but I really want to get the bulk of those work done on those other videos. Yeah, I thought about it. There's 5 non-Game Dungeon, non-Freeman's Mind videos I'm probably due. 3 of them I really want to do. So one of them takes just a ton of prep work. That's part of what I've been doing, but it's going to lead to some interesting stuff later. But no prediction. Let's say, yeah, my probability, I'd say, yeah, it's early March. Let's say medium high chance of another Freeman's Mind this month and medium chance of something else this month. We'll see what happens. There's a lot of prep work on these other ones I'm doing. They're going to be more in front of the camera stuff. I'll probably have a streaming session of sorts with fans. I honestly don't know what we're doing. I thought I might move on to something else, but it seems like a lot of people were unhappy they missed the Warcraft 3 session and we were trying to get more people. We could try that again if people are interested, especially since it's still installed. So that means it's less prep time for me. I tend to gravitate towards that. I guess I don't have much else in the way of announcements. Just again, it's like I'm constantly working at like different aspects for different videos now. Fortunately, these are all videos that aren't going to like lead to like a new series or something. They're just sort of one-off ones I've been really wanting to do. So once I get these, I'm probably not going to work much on the movie this month. I kind of just want to get these videos out of the way, and then I can go back to like the movie and Freeman's Mind and Game Dungeon. But it's bugging me. I'm seeing too many things and too many questions that are relevant to these videos. So that always just fires me up to get more done on them. And I'll go to questions, and we could possibly even get done earlier this time because I saw a lot of questions where I'm not sure I have any good answers for. So that makes it easier to just move on by. All right, so I'll answer the submitted questions first, and then at the end I'll go for live ones. Let's see. Okay. Ross, would you ever consider making a behind-the-scenes video for Freeman's Mind 2? And they like the blooper video. I did a little, I guess I didn't really go in depth, but I did a little bit of that in, it's called Help Make Freeman's Mind HD. That was before I switched to 720, then later to 1080. I don't show every last little step, but you get to see more of the process in that. Yeah, and really the process has not changed dramatically for Half-Life 2. There's just kind of little tweaks that are game specific because since I was using Half-Life Source, it was the source engine either way. So, I record, I go through, kind of scout out the demo, then kind of go through and record it till I get it right, then put it into editing, and then start figuring out like all the dialogue and things like that. So it's not particularly interesting. I want to say civil protection was a couple orders of magnitude more complicated for what's involved with that. Yeah, again, civil protection is not dead, though. I want to say it's probably dead on the source engine. So I don't know. I had one person offering to help with that. Maybe I could be brought back into it. But yeah, civil protection not dead, sort of in stasis. But yeah, source engine may not be. That may not be happening again. The bloopers, in both cases for 8 and 9, those were completely not planned. I figure when I have mistakes this time that are kind of spectacular to see. In fact, I have an old one from Civil Protection I put up, but it's unlisted. I should probably make that listed now. I think the only reason I haven't was I was afraid everybody would think, oh, good, new Civil Protection episode. As soon as I do that, then everyone will be disappointed. So, but yeah, it is a link to it from the post. If I have more mistakes that are interesting to see, then for sure I'll put them up. A lot of them are just bothersome that aren't that interesting. It's just it kind of wrecked things that were happening. Well, actually, there's a mistake in the last one that I sort of glossed over. I guess I don't mind telling you that you can probably see where it happens when Freeman gets out of the boat. Sometimes he would just get completely stuck, and I would sort of panic when that would happen because the longer I went with that, then I have such a tiny window to recover from that and not make it look too awkward without having to just start all over and do everything all over again. That happened, and I was thinking quickly. I remembered to do no clip, but the thing is, with no clip, you never know what's going to happen. Sometimes, you just lurch real forward dramatically, and then that ruins the shot. So, but this time I was able to do it just a little bit and turn it off again, and he was okay. So it wasn't too bad. So somebody's saying Game Dungeon is love. For Game Dungeon, don't worry. There's stuff coming. I have something really cool coming at some point for Game Dungeon. Something I'm surprised about. So, yeah, don't worry. There's stuff coming. I'm trying to make up for like the big gap of Freeman's Mind last year. So, but again, these other videos are driving me crazy too. So I got to get those made. Okay. So yeah, next question. Ross, I meant to prepare for this one. Ross, with the demise of Machinima, are there any interesting details that you were previously forbidden to discuss that can now be declassified? If you're still uneasy about it, will you reveal anything else after the dust is settled? Absolutely to the second part. For the first part, Machinima still exists as a company. I can guarantee you that. Maybe I shouldn't reveal more, but it absolutely exists. I have no idea how my contract is affected now. I have to look over that. I was gonna say I think there's some stuff that maybe technically I'm not supposed to say, but I don't think it's that big a deal that I don't mind revealing. That would be with when I was working there, because those two different things. That was a different contract when I was working at Machinima than the ones related to my videos. So I mean they're both related, but those. I forget what the penalty is if I reveal about that, but whatever. I think that part's probably pretty safe. So yeah, I'll tell you guys an anecdote from working there. So I worked at Machinima for a few months. This is after I had started Civil Protection and Freeman's Mind. Well, actually, they had come at me before, and they made an offer. I had to turn them down because what they were offering. Okay, this is not exact quote, so it's probably fair to say. I want to say it was like $24,000 a year, but I mean this was back in maybe 2007, 2006, and I knew now where I was living, I could probably be fine with that, but I knew that they were located in Los Angeles, and I knew Los Angeles is not a cheap city, so I just had to turn them down on that one. And then, I think a year later, they offered me more, not a lot more, but it was enough that I could consider it. And the real draw to it for me was that I wasn't planning to make much money. In fact, I knew I was probably going to lose money on it. But the big draw was that I would have more resources to make my more ambitious ideas and kind of maybe have more stuff delegated, which, that would be worth it to me. I mean, then and kind of now is to, lose money but make something just way cooler, way better. And that ended up just almost completely not materializing. I think they had some... Yeah, I don't want to say that was like an outright lie because they made some minimal effort later on, but it obviously wasn't. Either they completely, when me explaining the process to them, like what's involved, either that went in one ear or went out the other and they just had their own unrealistic perception, or else they just never took it seriously at all, but that never really happened. But the amusing parts was, okay, so they called, then I accepted, so yeah, sure, I'd rather, it's like that saying I like, rather regret something you've done than regret something you haven't done. So I accepted and went to them, and you know, I was in Virginia at the time, so it's clear other end of the United States. And I asked them, you know, well, you know, I had a car at the time, and I asked them like, well, did you want me to, you know, drive out there? I mean, it would take longer, but then I could have my computer and then, you know, maybe be more prepared for it. No, they wanted me out there immediately. They paid to fly me out there, and they paid to, like, for a moving company to move my stuff out there, which would take, you know, 2 or 3 weeks, but it's like, fine, they need it out there immediately. So I'm just like, all right, fine, we'll do it. And I told them, you know, I was going to need a place to record, and I told them just how loud I get for Freeman's Mind. And they're like, yeah, essentially like, yeah, whatever. And then, so I went out there. When I got there, they were totally unprepared. They didn't have a place for me to record. They never had a place for me where I could shout, like, you know, when doing the loud lines. But, you know, I'll list the chat here. They did not even have a computer for me. And, you know, I kind of need a computer to make Machinima videos. So maybe I've said this before. I'll ask the chat. Guess how long it took them to provide a computer for me. And while you're guessing on that, I'll say, you know, the way I did the recording when I was at Machinima, like later on, like what I would do is around that time I bought a netbook, you know, just to sort of play games on the bus. Actually, these are decent guesses from the chat here. Okay, they're guessing months. It was 9 weeks. 9 weeks to give me a computer. This is when they, you know, computer for me there. This is when they were just like rushing to get me out there. Just, you know, pay more to get me there sooner because they needed me immediately for no reason. You know, it reminded me a lot of like Dilbert comics because, you know, Dilbert's, you know, they like to parody, you know, Office ineptitude. And it's like, you tend to think of Dilbert as exaggerating things. This wasn't even like an exaggeration there. Because I remember at one point after, I think it was like after a month or so, like they were trying to, they had a meeting and they were kind of concerned I hadn't had videos out. I was playing, literally every day I was telling them I need a computer. Like I would tell multiple managers, I would email them, I would talk to them like in person or like sometimes on the phone. You know, try different venues of communication if they're better at one than another. No, it never sunk in. And, you know, when I explained, yeah, I need a computer, and the reaction from them, it was like this real cognitive dissonance. Like they have understood that, yeah, I do need a computer to do the job, but at the same time, you know, where's the video? Like it's like they wanted to admit it, but they couldn't, and it was like this delicate balance. There's a YouTube video that's gone viral. I think it's called The Expert. Let me see, is that the name of it? I honestly, yeah, The Expert. It's a comedy sketch. I honestly could not finish watching that because that was so close to home. And like it was almost painful for me to watch that all the way to the end. But you can check that out where it was a lot like that. There was slightly more self-awareness that they knew was happening, but it was, I got the real Office experience from that. But yeah, the way I ended up recording the Freeman's Mind video, yeah, that's one of them where one of them has an awful echo, is I had a netbook, something I bought to just play games on a bus, you know, since I took that to and from work and it took a while. It turns out it was just powerful enough for me to like run Premiere on it, you know, with I think it was, yeah, some sort of Atom processor or like a mobile Celeron or something. Still have it actually. I ended up, so I was basically editing the videos on like this tiny screen where I would just try to find an empty meeting room as a place to record because it worked. It was horrendous for me trying to record because one, I'm hearing all the background chatter from everybody else, and two, I get so loud, I'm gonna disturb everyone, you know, sometimes for Freeman's Mind. I don't wanna be doing that, but I was able to find some meeting rooms I was able to get loud in that could mostly muffle the door, except, you know, the schedule, like I wasn't privy to the meeting schedule, so it was kind of like guerrilla recording where I just have to kind of hope no one's gonna be there and I can kind of squeeze it in during that time. And then later, I ended up just having to essentially pull like a graveyard shift. There'd be nobody at the building, but I was allowed to come in, and basically that's the only time I could kind of record. Yeah, because eventually they got upset. Like some people in higher management weren't happy that I was like in the meeting room and I have to kind of go in, come out, that sort of thing. I mean, I would always leave if somebody had to have a meeting there, but they just didn't like the image, of course. So basically the only solution I was able to come up with was I would just have to come in essentially after everyone else had gone home and just there in the middle of the night, just doing, taking the bus out there. And, yeah, I remember the bus scheduling really sucked because, sometimes it shows up, sometimes it doesn't, and then I'm just standing there waiting around for like an hour in the middle of the night by a stop. But that was the only way I could get the recording done because they had no place for me to record, So, yeah, that never happened. That one, I mean, maybe if I was talking in normal volume, I could have gotten away with it. But I told them repeatedly before I even accepted, how loud I had to get to that. But it was just, it was just a mess on multiple levels. I'm trying to remember. Yeah, that was actually one of the things that one of the things that led me to quitting was that I realized, I essentially wasn't making any more money. I wasn't getting any more, if anything, I was probably getting less done, and it was like way more stressful. So and also I remember one person that worked there said something that kind of really resonated with me. They were, because, I would kind of get stressed about getting stuff made, and basically their advice was just essentially, just try not to care about what you're making. Just, get something amusing, but just try not to get like too involved with it. I was thinking, that's not how I want to make videos. I mean, I'd rather do another job if that's the attitude for it, or just something I'm just completely detached from, or like I could see myself doing some documentaries or something where I'm not particularly interested in the topic, but sure, I'll try to, film it properly or edit it well, that sort of thing. But let's see. I'm trying to yeah, I mean, most of the juicy stuff with the whole Machinima fiasco, I am allowed to talk about. So yeah, you get to hear about all the most entertaining parts, how they, like what, they refused to honor my contract. They lost their copy of my contract. They flat out lied what was going to be in the contract, and then back down, they passed me off to like 5 different people. They put me in a position where they said I couldn't release new videos without signing the contract, and it took them months for them to show me a contract, a new one. They tried to sneak in at one point I did like an extra job for them where I just kind of provided some sort of background sets, essentially, and source for them. And it was just a minimal thing, but they paid me, and they tried to get me to sign a new contract. I was like, well, I can't sign this. This would take a lot of my rights away. It's like, okay, well, we'll try to figure that out. And I think that's actually why they lost my old one, is they just assumed, and I think that was in 2011, they assumed everyone else was on the old one, so they thought that my original one from 2000, well, no, no, it's weird, because they had my 2007 one, but then they lost the 2009 one that replaced that. But yeah, in that Escape to Machinima post on the website, that's actually a little bit outdated, because part 1, I was operating off of information that they were giving to me, some of which was false. So, the thing about logic is infallible, but it's only as good as your assumed truths. So if what you're assuming is true that isn't accurate, then your conclusions aren't accurate either, necessarily. So there was a little bit of that going on. I'm fine with verifying anything, but put it like this: there wouldn't be Freeman's Mind. I guess Game Dungeon might exist, but yeah, there wouldn't be Freeman's Mind or hope of future civil protection if I hadn't just like fought them tooth and nail on it. So, but yeah, I'll see if I can think of some other stuff. But yeah, the 9 weeks to get me a computer. Yeah, so for a while after that, once my moving stuff did arrive, I was essentially just working at home. So it's like, why even move out here if I'm just working at home the whole time? Because there's literally nothing I can do to come in at the office. Yeah, it was a mess. But actually, one thing I'm sort of happy about that I'm not there that you want to think about is they would always see. I like to kind of not have spoilers for games, but that was kind of impossible there because they would always be having new games like in a real public way that you can't ignore or go around. So I'd be getting all these spoilers for games that like I might be interested in, but I kind of want to take it at my own pace. Whereas now I can do that, but then it was just impossible. It's like I have half the game spoiled for me before I even get a chance to see if I might want to play it, you know? So that was nice that I didn't have to deal with that. But I mean, the actual other people working there were generally okay. Yeah, the actual workers, not management. And to give credit, the manager, well, there were multiple managers, so I'm just kind of generalizing. Like, they weren't necessarily all bad people. But I think they were all skilled at that. Again, that sort of cognitive dissonance where they accept something's real simultaneously while denying it, and like they can sort of juggle that in their head. Like I was seeing a lot of that when I was at Machinima. Yeah, I mean, I don't remember anyone act. Yeah, that's what's just so crazy is because like the contracts and the legal department, it was like incredibly hostile. I mean, just no, this undeniably just. I mean the fact that they wouldn't honor the old contract, you know, and they're trying to have this overbearing stuff and putting you on the defensive for everything and basically trying to take all rights away from you. I mean, that was incredibly hostile, but I cannot think of any one manager dealing with them that came across that way. It was all just, so even now, I have no idea who to blame for what happened to me. I mean, the legal department was part of it, but I mean, I never saw them when I was there really when I was working there, but okay, I should move on. Ross, it's hard to believe it's been almost 13 years since the first Civil Protection came out. Jeez. Yeah, I guess, man, it's been a while then. I gotta do more. I gotta get more done. How would you say your writing has improved since then? Yeah, this is why I didn't have a good answer for. I'm not sure, man. Like, part of the problem is I'm almost kind of rusty on that front because a lot of what I've been doing with Game Dungeon and Freeman's Mind, like, in my opinion, for my own standards, which I judge myself, this isn't like a blanket standard for me, or kind of less creative. Because they're kind of more monologues and narration working off something else. Where Civil Protection was kind of more in kind of inventing the storyline. So I really don't know. I can say one thing that I am more aware of, at least, especially for kind of the videos I have with more information in them or Game Dungeon, is I'm definitely more, you might not think it, but I'm more aware of trying to like chop down my dialogue as much as I can. Just cut out anything that seems to be kind of, if I could say something in 3 words, I have the same meaning as opposed to like 5 or 7. Like I'll usually try to review stuff and just see how much I can hack it down. I mean, I don't want to like throw out stuff I feel like should be there, or sometimes the longer way to say something is better. But if I can just, because I think I may have a tendency to just put extraneous information in there or longer way of wording it. I just try to kill that as much as I can. So not always successful, but that's something I'm definitely aware of with my writing, because I want it all to have be as punchy as it can. And yeah, the more you drone on, not that these video chats are a good example of how to do things, but the more you drone on, the more you can kind of bore the audience, or you lose your impact or something. Yeah, again, these videos are just considered like proof of life. I'm still alive and working on things. So that's the number one function of these videos. Okay. There are a lot of theories. Yeah, there's another one I don't have a good answer for. There are a lot of theories about the Half-Life G-Man. Who or what do you think he is? You know, I'm probably less familiar with the lore of Half-Life than many of the fan base, actually, because I mean, I've heard a few things, but I mostly just kind of go by what the game's told you, which is not a lot. Personally, this is probably wrong. I consider it almost like a complete vacuum where they haven't even thought it out. Valve hasn't even thought it out themselves, and we don't know until they decide we need to. You know, it's like a vacuum. Yeah, there's. It's like, yeah, let's make a mysterious guy. Okay, we'll add a couple hints about maybe they could go this way or this way, and yeah, that's good enough. Go. And if we need to, we'll develop it more later. Yeah. So I'm not sure there is anything. He's just a mysterious figure working for probably otherworldly employers, you know, and maybe that's as far as it'll ever go. Now that said, because it affects him much more directly, and Freeman is going to have to come up with his own theories on this. He's sort of, yeah, I have him gravitating towards CIA. 'Cause, I don't know, when I played it, like I heard he was called the G-Man, so and he was, you know, dressed in the suit with the briefcase. I was always just assuming CIA for some reason, so I'm going with that for Freeman. I mean, yeah, his mind could get changed, but that was actually my favorite line in the last episode about about how if we in the 1800s we've been if we would have been inventing the internal combustion engine, he shows up in a Ferrari and starts doing donuts around the outside our workshop. I don't know. I had that image in my head, and I love that. Of just the Freeman and the Ferrari, just, you know, same expression, but just, you know, doing like skid pit moves in a Ferrari. So. Okay. Ross, if you were only allowed to drink one beverage, and only that beverage for the rest of your life, what would you choose aside from water? You know, I'm actually kind of living that. I'm kind of I basically just kind of drink water because I read how, you know, like juice and of course soda maybe isn't necessarily good for you because it's a lot of extra sugar. And I'm definitely like a bit of a sugar addict, but I'm not particularly addicted to juice or soda. So I figure, well, at least if I can cut that out, then I'm not piling it on because, you know, when I mean, I'm more like Cookie Monster. So, you know, if you're gonna be having the cookies anyway, better to just have the cookies rather than the cookies and the soda with everything. So I don't really miss it. But since I am basically doing that, I would kind of figure out, well, what would I want to drink when I'm not having water? So I think I'd go with eggnog. I love eggnog. So yeah, it's not that I'm against having sugar, but I'm like at the mindset where if I'm gonna have sugar, I want it to count. I want it to be like really, like, yeah, it tastes really great because of what I'm having. So. I mean, juice has vitamins, but I think for the otherwise, it's not particularly great for you because you get the fiber out. Okay, so now that support for Windows 7 is drawing to a close, what are your future plans regarding your operating system? Do you plan to continue to run it? I'm thinking there's a decent chance this year I'll probably go to 10, but on my terms, meaning I am not moving. I'm going to figure out a way to run Windows 10 where it will never update without my permission. Like never. You know, and that is not how it works by default or even with some basic settings affected. I mean, I think you can postpone it because I have seen updates break things. And I've actually had that happen to me in the middle of the projects. So the thought of there even being yeah, see, it's like you got to pick the lesser of two evils, because so on one hand, oh, okay, maybe there's some critical updates so that your system could get compromised and you need that. You should get that as soon as possible. On the other hand, you could have an update screw up something that you were using, and then you have no recourse to go back unless you had like a system image all ready to go. Or I don't know, they may let you go back a little bit, but that's a complete paradigm shift to previous versions of Windows. So I'm essentially betting the odds of me being compromised by some random exploit of Windows, even though it's been out for years, is going to be far lower than one of an update screwing something up, which I've seen happen multiple times. Yeah, I think the only time I've seen my system actually hit by an exploit was back in XP, and that was through Flash. Like Flash ads would come up and they'd manage to give me viruses. It's like I would try to, I put on like this robust antivirus and it would go bleep. I remember it happened to me at Moby Games, which is like, you know, a Wikipedia for games practically. And there's nothing sinister about that site at all, but the Flash ads were delivering me viruses that would kind of come through in a Windows exploit, I think. I think ever since I updated to 7, I haven't had any compromise. And I've been real slow on some updates. So basically, I'm having to play the odds here. And in my experience, the odds are incredibly higher of a bad update screwing something up. Now, of course, the consequences could be a lot higher if there's an exploit like with ransomware or something. But anyway, but yeah, I have to ensure I can have it that way because I'm not, that's not going to change. But yeah, I'm also increasingly running into programs I can't run on Windows 7 slowly. Actually, a fan who I don't know if it wants to, he actually works at Ubisoft. He sent me a copy of The Crew 2 after seeing the review of it on The Crew. Technically, it does run on Windows 7, but not on my machine. So I tried everything. I went through the support, so I think I'm just going to wait. Yeah, somebody's saying DirectX 12 games. Yeah, and at some point, I definitely want to play, Forza Horizon 4. That's one and that's a DirectX 12 game. But, and you know, once Windows 7 support does end, you may slowly see games that require DirectX 12, or maybe not. DirectX 12 is kind of the new DirectX 10 in my opinion, because how many games require DirectX 10? I want to say it's like 3, maybe. I mean, there are several that supported it as an extra effect, but no company wanted to kill their market share because, and they tied DirectX 10 with, you know, Vista, which was unpopular at the time. So a lot of people didn't move over. So if you're selling games, you want as many buyers as possible. So there's no way you want to shut out people. So you're probably not going to see games that aren't published through Microsoft require DirectX 12, who knows when, until, even if support ends, what matters is market share. So if gamers like really jump ship after that, it's like 90% Windows 10 or something, then yeah, you might see some that require it. But otherwise, no, it'll be DirectX 11 or Vulkan, probably one of those two. So, yeah, we'll see. There's somebody saying Metro Exodus uses DirectX 12 and it breaks the game. Yeah, it could. I mean, you know, and the thing is, I don't even care that much. I want to say ever since one of the latest generation of console games come out, like it was like Xbox One and PlayStation 4. It was like, was it 2012 or is it later? Well, people tell me in the chat in a second. I want to say ever since like the latest generation of console games, because of course PC games are independent, but you know they're going to cater to the common denominator there. So you know they're not going to move too far ahead unless everybody else is on board. Okay, somebody's saying 2013. Okay, so ever since that's happened, I kind of feel like all games with a big budget kind of look great. So I mean, yeah, they're refining it with like, adding some ray tracing and stuff like that. But it's like, man, if you show me a game, if I knew nothing about the games and you show me a game coming out this year from a major company versus like say 4 years ago or more, I may not be able to tell the difference, or maybe I could if I like really look for it. I just think they all look great now. So for me at least, I'm at a point where I don't really care about graphics. So I care about art direction. That's a completely different thing. But yeah, I feel like everything looks great now with when you have a lot of money behind the visuals. Obviously, indie game people are gonna they're gonna have more challenges with that sort of thing. But if you have like millions of dollars devoted towards getting the look right, I guess my point being is I don't really care if DirectX 12 looks a little bit better. I mean, even now, like with a lot of games, sometimes I'll look at like game quality screenshot comparisons, image quality comparisons, and like at first glance, I can't even tell the difference between like ultra high versus like high, and even medium is like it's subtle. It's so subtle. Whereas, I mean, I can tell the difference sometimes, but whereas, you compare that to like 10, 15 years ago, the difference between medium and very high was dramatic. I mean, there'd be like more trees. You see things in the distance you didn't see before, or, it would, the lighting, or yeah, you have shadows versus not, that sort of thing. So it's like a exponential curve, We're at the point where it's like, I don't really, it's all good for me. So, okay. But yeah, but if the game requires DirectX 12, obviously I got to move off 7 to play those. Okay. Got off topic a bit. Yeah, this one, okay, this next question might be a long one here. Okay, Ross, do you feel like we have an overabundance of formulaic good games? Is good in quotes. I feel as though large companies like Ubisoft have figured out a formula that hits all the right marketing buzzards. Open world, shiny graphics, large draw distances, etc. And if a game like Anthem had been released a decade ago, it probably would have been praised. But because the market has become incredibly oversaturated since 2010, these big, beautiful, yet hollow games, I find myself losing interest very fast. In many ways, it feels like video games have peaked. The new stuff is technically good and very glossy, yet incredibly boring and overdone. What are your thoughts? Yeah, okay, so there's multiple thoughts on this. All right, where should I start? Okay, Ubisoft, you mentioned them. I've come to this conclusion too. It's like, okay, you know what my attitude is on like a whole lot of AAA games, like modern ones, is that they, especially like big open world ones, is like this seems really neat for like the first few hours, and then it feels hollow. I mean, because he's saying, yeah, what? Have figured out like the formula for them. Well, I mean, it's, yeah, okay, yeah, okay, I guess I misread something. It's, I found myself getting interested in, it's not necessarily a technical thing that draws you into a game. That's part of what I'm saying. Actually, I think last month I finally played Subnautica. That was one of the best games I played in years. That was great. And I have plenty of things I'm not huge on crafting, and it has a whole lot of that. So, but it's like the highs of that game completely overshadow the things I wasn't so crazy about. And I guess technically that one is open world, but yeah, I mentioned Ubisoft. It's like a formula. It's not that having a formula is such a bad thing in and of itself, because I was thinking, because he's talking about games that peaked. I mean, look at driving games or racing games. There's a few different ways you can do those, but as far as like hard mechanics, a driving game from maybe 15 years ago might not be that different than a driving game from now. I mean, however, they can still be fun, the new ones, like I want to see new courses, or kind of, just kind of wow me with the track, or, you know, I guess that's one area where you know you can show off more with the graphics than you could before them. But like they've kind of, you know, they're not like most of them aren't going to be fundamentally different, but you can still have a completely enjoyable game. I, these ones from Ubisoft a lot of them tend to be kind of, you know, third person. They have these sort of check mark boxes. It's almost like even if I can be totally interested in the setting, like it just feels it's just not drawing me in. I don't know maybe that's the writing of the presentation or the design. So it's like, yes, it is competent in that it runs well and there are things to do. But if you're not motivated to do the things, why should you care? That's a question. Yeah, I guess you can ask to have any game designer. Like, okay, here's your game. Why should I be interested in your game? Like, I recently played, like a month or two ago, some of Steep, and it was just like, you know, it's kind of perplexing for me because I'll have this feeling, and I know I have that feeling, but I'm not always sure why. Because I'm thinking, like, my expectations for just a downhill skiing and snowboarding game are pretty basic, you know, just like have a cool course, they have some fun music, good wipeouts, and it had some of that, but they somehow managed to make it feel hollow. I don't know how they do this. Like, I really do not know. It's somebody who analyzes this stuff could probably do it better. And I've had the same feeling from like the Assassin's Creed games for me personally. Like, I'll be super interested in the setting. Like, yeah, I want to see you know, wander around the 1700s. Like, yeah, again, I've played, like I played Rogue all the way, Assassin's Creed, and I played a good chunk of Assassin's Creed 3. But it's like the story I didn't care about. Well, okay, Rogue, they sort of make the main character kind of interesting. But it's like I've cared about none of the other characters. It's like I said in the crew review. This feels like one of those TV shows that it's going to get canceled after one season. You don't really care. It's like they're not bringing enough personality or the plot isn't interesting enough. And then the gameplay is just like this. I don't know. I honestly don't know what they're doing that makes me not be interested in these games. Like I think I saw like the trailer for like the new Far Cry, and I was just thinking, this doesn't really interest me that much. Even I am kind of interested in playing Far Cry 5, but I almost want to just play it just to see the game world, and then that's it. You know, maybe play some of it because I never really got into any of like the newer Far Cries. They didn't have. I felt like 3 was trying. For a lesser extent, but my expectations are kind of shot on those. But yeah, okay, so yeah, I mentioned others. Anthem, I don't know too much about. I just sort of glanced at. But well, hey, here's another example. I recently beat Destiny 2 because that was free to pick up back in December, and I love the world, like the mapping and the art design. I love that. That was great. In fact, I really wish there was a way I could see that world or just the map in VR because it's just, visually it is a treat, that game. I feel like they'll let the art directors go nuts and the game's that much better for it. But the gameplay just didn't really grab me. The writing, I want to say it was actually a little bit more engaging than the Ubisoft stuff, but it didn't reel me in at all. It's sort of like one character, this sort of grumpy scientist guy who just seemed surly about everything and just wanted you. So he had the other characters, they were kind of felt like they were kind of trying too hard, but I don't know. I wasn't really getting into the story. It felt kind of like a mess. The gameplay felt competent but very bland to me, and I kind of had to push myself to keep playing. So I don't know what's happening with these games. I guess what it is, oh yeah, and I mentioned like, you know, having a formula. I tend to enjoy kind of Metroid style games. There's a lot of those. If there's a new one, I like the theme and they find some reasons to keep me playing, sure, you know. So I guess this particular formula doesn't exactly resonate with me. I don't know, whatever this is. yeah, this sort of open world, usually third person game where you have many objectives and side quests, and I don't know, it just feels, this stuff feels diluted, and in fact, not diluted, like, you know, weaker. It's kind of spread out too much. Sometimes when I play these, they actually make me kind of crave like a tighter linear game, where you move from level to level that maybe have a story through it. And because, yeah, the replay value is not going to be as high, but it's a satisfying experience if you go through those. I mean, if they're well done. So, I mean, my expectations for open world stuff are a little different, but it's like they managed to just somehow suck the life out of them for me sometimes. I don't know what's happening. I don't know why. I don't know why they're doing it. As for the video games have peaked, I don't think that's really true. I mean, like I said, I played Subnautica. That was, and that's a derivative game, actually. I mean, I'd say it's sort of like Minecraft, sort of like Metro, like a 3D Metroid and in an alien underwater thing. But it was fantastic. Again, the highs on it are just completely overshadow the lows on it, so which is what I'm generally looking for in games, to just kind of get sucked into it, and they really came through in the atmosphere to that. But yeah, I think that's what's going to happen is you'll have them fight. Yeah, my thoughts are scattered all over the place. I should have written down notes. The one thing that has been very true of the AAA industry, both now and in the past, is they tend to follow successes. So if one of these games, like Anthem, I'm sure had to have been inspired by, Destiny, and then that one, I think The Division had similar gameplay. I haven't played The Division. So and then there's the battle royale craze that every big company's trying to get in on. So you'll have these kind of shifts in the game industry for the big players. Like EA, Ubisoft, that sort of thing. And, but indie games can continue to do whatever they want because they realize, okay, yeah, we're not going to make the best-selling game ever, but we can sell to everybody who wants another Metroid kind of game, or we can sell to people who want, a real-time strategy game, or, as long as they keep their cost, or another platformer with, good visuals and mechanics, that sort of thing. So as long as they keep their cost in check and they have an idea of their audience, that they can still make a profit. And those games might be more satisfying, even though there's a lot less money going into them, because, they know how to because they're kind of following old school traditions of, hey, let's make a game people want to play and just try to make it as well as we can get it, make it as good as we can get it, and people are going to want to buy it because it's an enjoyable game. I mean, that's the old model, and it's not as profitable as the new model, at least in the short term, but it can work. But though there's a lot of competition just all around. But I think this creates more of an opening for them. Seeing the AAA companies just kind of not bring a lot to the table as far as the, kind of complete satisfying game experience. Like you play it from beginning to end, and you had a blast through it, and that's the game. They don't seem to want to follow that. There's a few doing that, but they don't seem to want to do too much of that. Whereas, so fine, if you're looking for that kind of experience, you might find it with an indie game. And again, Subnautica was kind of like that. I mean, there's a beginning and end, and it has progression and points, and it was great. So. Okay, I should probably keep moving on, but yeah, I don't think they've peaked. I think there's a lot of potential for things in games. I wouldn't get discouraged by it. So, have you ever experienced a paranormal event or something you can't explain? Has your wife? I think the most I ever had was, I think it was in school. I had this in high school. I had this psychology class, and I think for kicks they brought out like an official ESP test where you have these cards with different, shape figures on them. One's a star, It's sort of like what they're doing at the beginning of Ghostbusters, except without the electric shocks. You know, star, circle, square. And so they just, I think just for kicks, like the teacher did it on the class, you know, she would hold the card up and then you'd write it down. And I think they did like, you know, 20 of them. And, you know, looked at the results. And I had one of the, I was kind of low on sleep too when I did this. I had one of the higher results. I think I got, geez, I can't remember. It was around half. I want to say like 11 or 13, something around that. And statistically, I should have only gotten like 20% or something. So, you know, 4 or 5. But the thing is, like, I would have, when I looked at the results, like after it was done, I had, like a lot of it would just, you know, be kind of like statistically random and look normal. And then I'd have a streak of like 4 or 5 right, and then statistically random, and then a streak of another few that were like 3 or 4 right in a row. So it was just like, huh. Like, I don't think I could do that reliably. But that was, that's probably the closest thing I've ever had to a paranormal experience. I have no idea if my wife has had paranormal experience. I guess I could ask her about that. Okay, next question. What is the magic? As referenced in the Christmas episode. Well, that's the question, isn't it? You know? Probably involves a candy cane. Either that's part of the magic or that's a clue or, you know, representative, a symbol of it. I mean, whatever it was so important they needed to put that like right there in the HUD. You know, because you know you tend to save the HUD for your most critical information, your health, what items you have, or you know maybe a direction an enemy is coming from. Find the magic right there in the HUD. So let's see. Hey Ross, what's your approach to budgeting? Do you keep track of every dollar you spend, or do you just generally try to keep costs down? How much do you prioritize saving? As someone of limited means and variable income, I was wondering if you had any advice. You seem to be doing things pretty well for a pretty long time. Well, it's changed. Like you mentioned, keeping track of every dollar you spend. It was much closer to that prior to the. Well, okay. It's like the more breathing room, then I try not to do that actually because it gets incredibly stressful. Like I'll get this sort of like pit and knot in my stomach, like sometimes from the stress over that. But like when I was making more money, like on YouTube prior to like one of the many kind of crashes I had on that, I didn't kind of. I would always try to keep costs down, but I wouldn't keep track of that as much. When I wasn't like that, and prior to the Begathon video that I did, I was kind of keeping track of everything. Like, you know, if I walked to a grocery, I would just sort of keep a tally going in my head. And that was easier in Poland because sales tax is included in the price. So everything on this, I don't know why we don't do that in America. Like, you know, so the price you see includes sales tax, so that's the actual price when you go to the counter. But yeah, I would try to see. It would get so stressful because I would know about what I needed to spend each month on food or like what my range was, and I sometimes if you're super hungry, you know, you're basically fighting your own body to try to like stay under budget, and that's not always successful. And then later it's like, oh man, I gotta like spend less when I eat to kind of make up for it. And so that could kind of get to me. But yeah, I mean, usually the biggest expense is rent. So you have to kind of, so I even now I always budget like ahead of time, like get a rough idea of like, okay, how much is rent gonna cost, and then, you know, tax and then utilities and everything, and then look at that and then figure out what you have to work with afterwards, and then look at your past shopping results and see what's maybe realistic for buying food. Yeah, how much do you prioritize saving? I mean, I try to prioritize saving as much as I possibly can. Although that's for like short to medium term though, because again, if I didn't prioritize saving, geez, I would not. It's difficult for me to imagine where I would be right now, because I mean, I've really needed savings at points in the past where my income has just kind of bottomed out, and it needed to float for a couple months. The Let's see what else. So with limited means, if you had any advice, yeah, just try to keep. Yeah, I mean, besides the obvious, rent eats up most of the cost. So see what you can get away with for getting rent as low as possible without having being an actual health hazard, or being in such a crime-ridden area that you're really not saving any money because it's going to be broken into in the first week or two, and then maybe more after that. Uh, let's see, like yeah, for food. I mean, if you like cooking at all, try to prioritize that because you'll absolutely save money by doing cooking and just getting produce. But I mean, if you have time and energy for that, let's see, what are some other things? Try to keep costs down. Well, yeah, for electricity, like, see, I've kind of had to cave on some of my habits since I've been in a relationship because I can't necessarily hold my wife to the same standards I hold myself. But before that, I would almost never turn on the heat, pretty much, unless it was like an issue where the pipes might freeze. Or if I had company over, then I would turn on the heat. I mean, I would just never do that basically because I mean, that it adds up. Let's see, and I mean, my heat tolerance is a lot worse. So I mean, I would still run fans, but I didn't always have air conditioners. Yeah, of course, try just. What are some other ways to cut down? Of course, with lights and everything, try to keep that not running. I don't know. Yeah, try not. If you're aware of your own eating habits, food's usually the area where you have the most immediate control over like getting the cost down. It won't make the biggest impact necessarily because rent's a lot higher, but you can you can work with that more. Let's see. I was gonna say, yeah, just try to get everything you can cheap unless it's something you think you're pretty sure you're going to be using this for another 5-10 years or something. Then maybe spend more if you can to get something that's going to last, because then you're actually saving money in a long term. Because if you have to buy a replacement every 2 years, whereas if you paid maybe twice as much and got something that lasts 10, then the long-term economics of that work out better if you can afford that. See, that's the thing. It's like easier. That's the irony. The more money you have, the easier it is to save money, is that I've found. So it's like it's kind of a feedback loop towards the bottom. Let's see, for long-term savings, I have like no idea. That's got me wondering about a question where I have no idea, because like I really don't. Yeah, well, you're welcome to email me on this one. It's like, what's the best plan for long-term savings right now? Because you can save money, but like, let's say if you just keep that money safe via inflation, the value of that's gonna go down. So it's like you're losing money slowly through that. I mean, traditionally you invest in things or like retirement accounts or stuff like that, but I feel like we're at a time period where like by the time somebody's ready to retire, anything could have happened. Like imagine trying to plan your retirement in like 1910 or something, and think like 30 years ahead. Yeah, let's plan for those next 30 years. So that would be like, let's say like in Germany. So that would be like before World War One, before hyperinflation, before the Great Depression, before World War II. So it's like even those things that might have been sound investments in the past may not apply at all in the future. So, like I have almost no experience on that front. I mean, something I should probably figure out, but yeah, I guess. Oh yeah, well I mentioned this before in another chat, but if at all possible, it may not be realistic where you live or for your job, but if it's something you could adapt to, you may want to consider not having a car because there's gas money, there's repairs money, and the insurance. So that's like a month. I really try to minimize any monthly fees. See, that's the thing. Sometimes you can get hit with expenses you just have to pay, like something broke, or you find you really need a part or something like that, or some tools. And that's a one-time fee, and if you have some savings, it works for that, and you're okay. But ongoing expenses, they get you as the ongoing. So I really try to like minimize any of those that I can. So yeah, I mean that's one of the reasons. Aside from knowing my wife, that's the second reason even before I met her, I was considering moving out of the United States. Not because like, oh no, I can't stay in the U.S. or anything. Like it was just simple cost of living kind of thing. Like with my wife now, I don't think we could afford to live in the United States just because of the cost of food, health insurance. For rent, it depends. It depends where. Might be able to get away with that, but like I can kind of live supporting both of us for the same cost in living by myself in the United States. So if your situation is real extreme and you think you might be able to have a way to earn a living, that's the tricky part. That second part. Maybe moving outside from the country you're in. If there's a place you could stop doing it. It just depends like how desperate your situation is and how kind of outside the box you're willing to kind of go. Or hey, there's also what was it from the Cult Tycoon episode, the Fellowship for Intentional Communities. Yeah, like if you're someone who's just like you want to go off the grid, or not necessarily off the grid, but just you cannot afford to be doing rent and the way things are normal work. But you know what? You're happy to help grow vegetables. There are places for you. You just have to find them. So there's options. They just get more extreme and out there as you go through it. Okay, I should move on to another question. The not having to keep track of every single dollar. I still try to keep tracks down in vague, rough estimates, but not having to think about that's just tremendous amount of stress lifted from not having to do that. Worrying exactly where you're going to be in 2 months, financially, that sort of thing. Okay. Good, back to games. You stated that turn-based combat, Fallout Tactics, real-time combat and Fallout Tactics made the otherwise turn-based gameplay more appealing to you. And the question is, how do you feel about the inverse of this? The ability to pause and issue commands in an otherwise real-time game. Does the ability to pause and plan still trigger the same response in you as most turn-based systems do, or is it a welcome respite? And it's giving examples of like Mass Effect and Dragon Age. Yeah, I guess what is, I'm not huge on tactics games, or and unless it's like all real time. Unless it's balanced around everything being real time, then I'm okay with that. But I don't mind that too much. Like with both Mass Effect and Dragon Age for sure, I know I play with the combat and easy because I didn't want to pause anything. Like so, I wanted to just go in. Yeah, I wanted it more like Dungeon Siege. Yeah, just go in. Okay, maybe we'll pop an ability or something. The thing I don't like about turn-based combat, later I'm going to show you an example of a turn-based combat game where I did not mind the combat at all. It's just the time involved. You know, if we're having a fight, yeah, just run in there and let's do it. You know, or things change. They're beating us too badly. Okay, back up. Send those guys over there and start doing ranged attack or something. You know, like let's. I kind of want more of the excitement of combat in a game, and pausing everything just kind of, or pause and plan it out. It's just, it's not that that's, if you enjoy that, awesome. I'm not trying to say, oh no, this is objectively bad and no one should like it. No, it's not like that. It's just a personal preference. Again, if we're having combat, I want it to be kind of action oriented. Like, yeah, let's do it and just react as it happens. The only place I'd say where what he's describing where I really do appreciate the ability to pause is sometimes in real-time strategy games, if a lot of things are happening at once, I don't necessarily need to pause and plan everything out, but being able to just pause it and just have a breather for a second to just let my brain kind of detangle the situation, I do appreciate, which is why I'm probably better at single player RTS than multiplayer. Whereas, like, so let's say, you know, we're having an attack. You know, they've come in with a new unit. I'm not sure if we can handle this. Oh shoot, one of our facilities broke down. I need to repair that. Oh, I have idle workers. They're not doing anything. And I may have sent one of my scouts too far into a territory and I should pull them back. And that's all happening at the same time. So I'm kind of just like, you know, my brain sort of seizes up temporarily. And I just try to focus on one thing at a time. I do appreciate being able to pause and just go, okay, I need to do this here, then I'll do that, so I kind of do the build order in my head, then resume the game. But even then, that's only if things are if things are really hitting the fan, like where it's just everything's coming down at once, and I really need to be focusing on multiple areas simultaneously, just about. So, but yeah, for Mass Effect, I can't remember if I played it normal or easier, but I think I never used my teammates, basically. My teammates were just there to draw fire, as far as I was concerned. I'm just like, all right, I've got my gun, we're gonna do this. And like, yeah, whatever, you guys go there, I don't care. Like, oh, they got shot, okay, well, it doesn't really matter. Fine, you got shot. So yeah, I can't remember if I played on easy or normal in Mass Effect. But yeah, I never use my teammates in Mass Effect. So, or whatever they did, it was just automatic. So whatever they decided to do, that's what happened. So they might have helped me, they might not. I'm not sure. Whatever. I'll get them. You know, I'll shoot the guy. Okay, take cover here. Shoot that guy. Move here. You know, flank around here. It's like if my teammates help, great. If they don't, I wasn't counting on them. So, what are your thoughts on movies based on video games? Are there any that you liked? Yeah, there's some that I liked. As for my thoughts on them, I'd say the odds are, even without Uwe Boll, the odds are against it being good, I'd say. So, I mean, even if we just remove Uwe Boll from the picture, I'd say the odds are still against it being like, oh, that's a great movie, you know? Probably my favorite would be Silent Hill. I mean, they changed the storyline, but I felt like it all worked. It was kind of, you got that surreal, otherworldly horror experience. And actually, I saw an extra thing on that. They went to incredible efforts with the set design on that. Like, I mean, they were really going the distance, making it, you know, look like the other world with that. But I felt like even though it drifted from the original plot, they got generally the spirit of Silent Hill in it. So, and that's, I wasn't disappointed. It's not the best movie ever. In fact, I felt like the parts where they were trying to tie it to the game by having her like study this map, I thought it was like one of the weakest parts of the movie. No, it just like take Silent Hill, come up with a story with. I feel like that they did a pretty decent job. Another one I liked was Resident Evil, the first one. that definitely veers off from the Resident Evil feel, but I felt like that was good enough in itself to be like as a movie in itself to be enjoyable, like with the music and the presentation. And maybe look, maybe it's gotten better with the recent ones. I still need to play them, but the old Resident Evils, look, the story was nothing that special. That's not what made those games. So I honestly want to say the story for the first Resident Evil movie was better than the games. Like just the story. I mean, yeah. People will probably have some good voice acting quotes from that game. Somebody's saying the Resident Evil remake is so good. I need to play the remake. See, that's one where they probably added a lot to it. I've only played like the original. Yeah, I've played Resident Evil 1 through 4 original. I still need to play and I played a little bit of 5, but it was making me kind of nauseous. I need to come in there with like a FOV fix. I still need to play Code Veronica, maybe 5, maybe 6, because there's mixed reports like that. Pretty much everybody says 7 is good. Someone saying the Resident Evil 2 remake is so good. Yeah, it probably is. Resident Evil 2 is my favorite of the originals. So so I don't know. I feel like all the other Resident Evil movies are pretty stupid and not really. They range from either really bad to just like a movie good enough if you have nothing else to do and need to kill time. But the first one, it actually has some entertaining movie cinematic qualities to it. So I also like, it's not a great movie, but it wasn't trying to be, Mortal Kombat. I feel like for what it was, like, they're just saying, you know what, let's just have Enter the Dragon and add some Mortal Kombat mysticism stuff and just, if it gets cheesy, it gets cheesy. And they did that, and I think it worked for the kind of movie it was, You're not getting false pretenses for Mortal Kombat. So, it's, I felt like somebody's saying they'd like to see a serious Sam movie, but 90% of the movie is just shooting with badass music. Serious Sam certainly has potential to be a movie. I mean, you got to add more plot, but I certainly wouldn't mind seeing the Serious Sam experience on a big screen. Although we got a taste of that with Starship Troopers a bit, I think. But so Mortal Kombat, it's a dumb movie, but it's fun, and it's for what they were trying to do. I think it was completely competent. So and okay, I'm sure I'm in the minority here. Again, not a great movie by the standards of adhering to the video game, but as far as entertaining to watch, I enjoyed the Super Mario Brothers. I mean, some people act like that's the worst movie ever. It's just, I think the people who are saying that are probably like diehard Mario fans. If you're just looking at this from like just an entertainment perspective, there's lots of good jokes in there. You get like an adventure with it. So, and again, it's just kind of a fun movie. So yeah, I heard that one had like a story behind it where like the directors, like just, they knew they were making a Mario movie, but they just didn't care, and they kind of wanted to make like this sort of Blade Runner spin-off thing. And so finally the producers, I think, just figured out what was happening and just kind of had to force it back into a Mario movie as much as they could, which wasn't very much. So, but yeah. Okay, somebody's saying Gaming Historian did a good video on that. And somebody's asking, did I see Postal by Uwe Boll? Yes, I did. I think that's Uwe Boll's best movie. It's not good, but I think that's his best movie. That there are at least funny moments in that. So, like, for Postal. Yeah, for Postal, yeah, I mean, Postal sort of, man, the series kind of mutated because like the first one is really dark with like some humor in it, and the second one is like zany, you know, and the third one is just bad. I kind of would like something kind of in between the first and the second one. You know, more humor than the first one, but not quite as insane as the second one. Like my idea for a Postal movie would be something like the movie Falling Down, just crazier. That's what I would do for Postal, and yeah, you know, not hold back on a movie like that, but. Yeah, I'm trying to think of because there's plenty of other video game movies that were just okay, but again, kind of gave me that hollow feeling. Like the Prince of Persia movie gave me that. The Assassin's Creed movie made me feel like that. Although with the Assassin's Creed movie, I'm not. Maybe I might be in the minority. I'm not sure I put it like this. I feel like they did the writing of Assassin's Creed justice, which is I've never been particularly impressed by it. So again, it's not terrible. It almost would be better if it was terrible because then it'd be funny. But or just I saw the old Tomb Raider one with Angelina Jolie. It's a movie, you know. I mean, the Uwe Boll stuff's all pretty bad, but yeah, I don't know. Even again, the other ones, you know, it's been forever since I've seen it. Street Fighter might have made it so that it's like Street Fighter might have made it into the so bad it's good category because I remember there were a lot of just dumb parts in that I don't know. My memory is blurry on Street Fighter, but yeah, I think my favorites are the ones that I mentioned there. Most video game movies that aren't Uwe Boll, they're serviceable movies, but they just don't engross me at all. So, oh yeah, Doom. I'd say I'm most disappointed by Doom because Doom I felt like was a movie Hollywood could do right. You know, just make some horror action suspense movie, throw in all the dumb dialogue you want, and just, you know, it's up against demons. Just try to make a scary action movie, and instead it's just kind of a mess. Like Doom, just copy aliens and throw in demons instead. Have all the dumb dialogue you want. I think that'd be a completely watchable movie. And see, somebody's saying they like the first person scene at the end. For me, that was kind of like a little fourth wall breaking. I don't know. I was disappointed by Doom. I was disappointed by Doom because I felt like that was a movie I thought Hollywood could do because I have no faith in Hollywood coming out with a great script. But I think they can come up with an action movie, you know, like that's scary. You know, I think they could do that. You don't need great dialogue for Doom. But it's like they had to. Yeah, was Doom PG-13? Let's see. That's not a movie that should have been. I can't. What was it? I can't. I can't tell. That's a movie that needed to be R. Maybe it was. That's the thing. If it was PG-13, it shouldn't have been. And if it was R, they didn't you take advantage of that enough. So. Yeah, somebody's saying they wish they could watch 90 minutes of heavy metal and Doom guys slaughtering demons, honestly. Well, you don't want 90, well, I wouldn't want 90 straight minutes of that because you got to have pacing, you know, have the cooldown sections where they got to figure out what they're going to do. Well, just copy aliens. Just copy aliens. And there's nothing to really fix, you know, just take out, you know, instead of aliens, you have the demons, and instead of well, you'd still have the big boss fight, and then midway have the character go to hell and show that. So that's like the bottom third or bottom half of the movie is the Doom guy in hell, you know, and he shoots the aliens, you know, recovers, and then you end the movie with him taking out the Baron, not the Baron of Hell, the Cyber Demon. Was that it? I mean, you have the spider boss, and then you have the, geez, I forgot the Doom, and then you have like the Minotaur boss. One of those, or just some new one for the movie if you want, just something like that, and then and just have them strike a dramatic pose, some rock music coming in. Yeah, that's a much more satisfying movie. It's because yeah, and I think the people who like Doom would be satisfied with that. You know. Okay, so I should keep moving. Do you plan on covering any more weird games for Game Dungeon? As in Armed and Delirious level of weird. Armed and Delirious is definitely like a high point as far as weirdness. I don't know if I can think of any other games as weird that I want to play through. But I've definitely, you know, I've been, actually that's another thing I've been doing lately in this past week is just browsing through a ton of abandonware. Because seeing that Nintendo flagged that other site, or not flag, what am I saying? Sue that other site for the Nintendo ROMs, which has had kind of a chilling effect on some other abandonware sites, and then seeing the Machinima videos go down. I've been meaning to do this for a while, but it's like, I'm just thinking, I can't keep putting this off. I'm pressing my luck here. So I'm just going through just archives of abandonware, figuring out everything I think I might be interested in. I'm gonna download it and just kind of keep it stored, and then eventually go through it all, find out if that's something I want to play or not. So this is kind of like refueling for future Game Dungeons. But one of them I was looking through, I swear, it's like it had the exact same art style as Armed and Delirious. It's like the animations look similar. It had like the exact look. So who knows? Maybe we'll see if that game's worth playing. I for sure have more weird games planned. I don't have any that weird planned, but who knows? They could come up. So for Game Dungeon, it's not necessarily about how weird the game is. It's more like how entertaining is it to watch finding out about this game. So I figure if it's a weird game, that usually makes it easier, but I have to figure out, it has to be weird in an entertaining way. You know, or it could just be a more mundane game that just has these oddities that make it more interesting. So, do the locals treat you well? I've heard that some people in Poland don't like Americans, and certain parts are even suspicious of them. Do you notice that in some parts of Poland? I haven't had. I've actually had a lot of people come up to me asking for directions that I can't always help them with. I haven't really experienced that, but I'm not trying to be like, hey, look at me, I'm an American, like, and just making a big show of it. I'm trying to kind of blend in as much as I can. I do get stares, but from what I can tell, that's not particularly unusual for kind of anyone. That tends to be just more of a cultural thing where people will just stare at you. And I'm sure having long hair kind of makes me stand out more in that regard. I mean, I could certainly see some people in Poland not liking Americans, but I guess I haven't really given them reason to. So, I mean, I figure I'm the immigrant. I'm the one who needs to adapt. So, yeah. I mean, mostly just, you know, when I first came here, the vibe, this could vary too between different parts of Poland too, because, you know, not every city is going to be the same. But the vibe I was generally getting, you know, that I remember thinking when I first came here is that people in general were giving this kind of body language that they weren't looking for trouble. And of course, that's going to vary from person to person, but in general, I was sort of picking up that vibe, and also lots of stares. But that's also changed too, because I've had to go to Warsaw for one or two things, and there, the vibe was definitely different. Like in downtown Warsaw, you definitely get this kind of more, I don't know if I want to say snobbish, but definitely a more sense of self-importance among people. You know, this is like a completely nonverbal thing. It's just that, you know, if you see hundreds of people, you start noticing different expressions on people's faces more. than you do in other areas. And I'm just sort of going by my intuition on that. So that, and I got the impression that like, I mean, it's nothing compared to like New York or, parts of LA, but I compared to where I am, I got the impression that they're a little more hard boiled there. Less likely to be forgiving, more likely to be tough, that sort of thing. Again, nothing compared to New York, but because I've been to New York City also. But you sort of get that vibe, and it's less where I am. But I haven't had any problems really on account of me being an American here, though. Let's see. Since becoming independent and not beholden to any companies, what is the lowest low and highest high you've experienced related to that decision? Well, I still am kind of dependent on YouTube, which is, owned by Google or owned by Alphabet. But what? So, but yeah, I much more independent than with Machinima. Okay, lowest low, highest high. Just generally stress relief, not being, because there's no certainty at all with going, being completely reliant on YouTube or Machinima. It's, one day everything's fine. Next day, yeah, you're floundering in the water. Whereas, like, even if there was going to be, I'd much rather be beholden to fans because, even if there is going to be a lot of problems with fans, I can maybe try to win people back, or the shock wouldn't be as extreme. Like, let's say I make a video on somebody's favorite game and I don't like it. They're like, no, that's it. Like, I'm never watching you again, Ross. It's like, well, okay, well, that may have only hit like some of the income or something like that, and then they might change their mind later and make one they like. So it's like it's not a roller coaster with fans. It's like, it might be like a slow decline or, kind of like that. What are some other? So yeah, the highest I have to be stress relief. They weren't. See, they weren't. Okay, I guess the highest high with Machinima, which actually I'm having a bit of an issue with, but it's minor. I'll get to that later. Not in this chat, if I figure it out. When I was releasing stuff through Machinima, they were basically the big gorilla to hide behind, or if there ever was like a copyright issue, which there never really was. See, now an independent person on YouTube has all the access to all these options. So if you get a copyright strike, or you get a claim, you actually have some. Well, actually, maybe not a strike. I'm not sure but if you get a claim on you, you can fight that if it's not legitimate, or at least in the past. YouTube's always changing. Back when Machinima was around, like, I got into that wasn't an option at all. Actually, he's saying beholden to any company. I realize I'm looking at this through the context of video. For other jobs, it's just the jobs are kind of soul draining. But for the what? Let's my train of thought. Yeah, so basically, if there was an issue and Machinima approved the video, I had pretty much no worries about that at all. Whereas I've had, I want to say, a dozen or two illegitimate copyright claims on the videos that I've always had to fight off, and they're not really, they're not that bad, except that they give me flashbacks of having to fight with Machinima, which was horrible. Like, because that went on for months, even though it's not as serious as something like that. So those are probably the best aspects of being independent. The lowest for each, well, with Machinima, them turning on me and trying to basically backstab me, that's easily the lowest. I mean, yeah, getting stabbed in them trying to stab me in the back was probably the lowest point. For independent, I think, I guess, Okay, I guess some fans are telling me I don't have to worry about this, but I still can't erase it from my head. I always feel like I'm kind of failing the fan base and that I'm just not making enough videos. And it's not a matter of me just being like, just goofing around. So it's just like, oh yeah, I should have done work. No, it's just trying to figure out like how to get the time to just get it all done, everything I want to do, or just I'll run into things and things that I feel like should take 10 minutes end up taking 2 or 3 hours because, oh, there's this aspect. Oh, I have to do this check too. Oh, there was a mistake. I have to go and take care of that also. So stuff adds up with the time management. And like if I have a month and I haven't had a video come out, like that always bugs me. That bugs me a lot more, knowing that I'm accepting donations than when, I was behind Machinima, where it's just like, there were plenty of other videos to watch there too. So I think I probably do feel more stressed from that, but it's a different kind. So, and that's the sort of stress I feel like if I could get all the ideas that are in my head out on video, I wouldn't have that problem because I feel like I would have kind of earned my sort of down periods because some videos take longer. So let's see. Well, I kind of want to quote this in the chat. They're saying I get random content guideline violations, and they don't say how the video violates the rules. Yeah, that happens. And warn that if you lose the appeal, you can't appeal again. Oh, okay. I thought he was saying something different. I thought people were talking about how, like, with YouTube people, if you let your frequency of videos drop, like you never get it back. I think for plenty of people that is true, except I've dropped that ball many times. So the people who are here are probably just more or less going to stay here, I guess. I mean, assuming I don't put out garbage. Obviously, if I put out just junk, I'm not expecting people to keep watching it, but that's why I try not to do that. So, okay, keep moving. Oh yeah, this is an interesting one. If you were to die and go to a hell where everyone receives ironic punishments for eternity, like murderers getting murdered and politicians getting lied to, what would be your punishment? I was thinking, I don't think of myself as doing anything particularly bad, but I'm not saving the world either. So I would think like a fitting punishment would be something where I really need help from somebody else. Yeah, keep getting in situations where I really need help from somebody else and they just don't come through. Like I'm imagining, like, in movies, they have all the time this a scene where like somebody's hanging from a ledge or a cliff or something, and like, they're like, help, and somebody's like reaching out with their arm to try and get them. I'm imagining like I'm in that situation, I'm hanging on a ledge, and like, going help, and some guy at the top is saying, yeah, just a minute, and like, and I don't have a minute, or so, like, yeah, I'll get there, just a second, like, so I'm imagining, I think that would probably be the most fitting, I guess, for reasons I would be in hell. I had a taste of this in the apocalyptic episode where was it Sarah Mile or something? Just like, heal me, Sarah Mile. Okay, let's heal me, Sarah Mile, like, because I'm there with like 4 health. I need the heal. And he's just like, oh yeah, he might heal me. He might, okay, give me a little bit, but I need more. Like, so I think that would be my reality. That would be like my full-time, that would be my full-time reality there with that. That would probably be the most fitting for me because I perpetually have this feeling like I haven't done enough things and I need to do more. So, let's see. Did you ever get that poster of the map from Revenant? No, I still need to finish it. I'm gonna do it. I was making progress, but then somebody was gonna help me on that too. But then we found that like the new screenshots I was taking, for some reason, the color was off from the previous versions that I took. So something with the capture must have been going wrong. I need to figure out what happened. So that kind of put it at a standstill because it's like, wait a minute, what? Do I just keep going with this or what's different? Why is the color slightly off now between completely lossless screenshots from before versus ones now? Like something changed. I'm not sure what happened, so I have to figure that out. But okay, let's see. Okay, I think we're getting down to the questions I may skip. What is your hair care routine? I use shampoo and brush it. Okay, next question. Have you ever done a lot of handheld gaming, like Game Boy and things like that? I haven't done a lot. I used to have an original Game Boy, but I wasn't able to afford too many games. I played, what would I play in that? Well, actually, I played, I think, almost completely at a store. Because, like when I was a kid, my parents might go to the store, like Walmart or Brendel's or something, and they might have a Game Boy on display. I think I played almost all of, what was it, Kirby and Dreamland on the Game Boy that way. So, because it's a relatively easy game. I had a copy of Wario Land. That one was fun. Let's see. I think I played. Let's see. I think I played Mario Land 1 and 2. Yeah. So I think I played the Mario Lands. I'm not sure if I have much else on the Game Boy because the games are sort of out of my league. But later, I ended up playing other ones I was really interested in. Not on Game Boy, but like later ones. I played Metroid Fusion. They wanted to play that. I played. I think it's Circle of the Moon. I always get a lot of the Castlevania names mixed up. It's the one where you have like cards, and it's like kind of a more normal Castlevania game. I think you have a whip in that. I think it's Circle of the Moon. Here, I'll check. I gotta get a screenshot. I also played. What was it? Order of Ecclesia. That one was great. That was probably my. Okay, Yeah, it looks like Circle of the Moon. Okay. Yeah, that was for Game Boy Advance. I got to play that on a friend's. Borrowed it from. Yeah, I haven't played too many mobile games. It's like the really good. See, mobile for me, it's like either the game is just some sort of casual thing you want to kill time with, or it's like a full-fledged game, in which case I wish they'd port it. Because like again, those kind of Castlevania or Metro games, those are like full, complete games. So, I'm not really that interested in just kind of casual time wasting games, but if it's a full game, I'm not really too interested in playing original Game Boy games because I don't know. I guess I'm enough of a graphics snob that I like having colors. So I guess Game Boy Advance onward I'd be interested in, or I guess even back then, yeah, Game Gear. But I don't know. But even then, the sound would usually be kind of crippled on those. Like, yeah, I think, I thought Game Boy Advance, the sound, like Super Nintendo, I thought had great sound. And I mean, for the time, well, even now it sounds, there's a lot to like about like music on Super Nintendo games. And Game Boy Advance, it's like, man, it feels strained. It feels like they should have had a little bit better chip in there or something. So, okay, let's see. What kind of things do you do to get in the zone when working or increase your productivity overall? Well, that's probably number one reason I exercise every day. I mean, because I can just kind of focus better. It's less about things to do, but more things not. Try to avoid sugar in my case, which is sometimes easier said than done because my concentration goes way up if I haven't had sugar. It's not really necessarily things I do. It's just kind of really, if I can kind of visualize the end and be excited about that's enough. That's all I need. I need to kind of feel like for me, The hardest part of almost like any project is like the middle, because at the beginning I'm starting something new and I'm kind of it's taking shape and it's kind of excited, and by the end it's like, oh, I'm getting close to the finish line. Yeah, we're gonna make it. And it's the middle. That's the part where it can just kind of it just feels it sometimes can be like an endurance test. You're just kind of going on and on. So it's more just basically the best possible thing that could happen for me is for me to be kind of excited about a project. That's sort of why I'm stealing a little bit of time from Freeman's Mind. I mean, it's still gonna get made, but to do these other videos because, like, I'm having this. It's just driving me crazy that I haven't made some of these videos yet, and so it's like, no, I just gotta do it. So the more I feel like that's all I need. Like, again, coming out of depression, I kind of feel like having drive is like the answer to everything almost. So just figuring out ways to kind of spark your drive for something, if I have that, I have everything, just about. Because if any obstacles I have, I'll figure out how to get around it. Whereas if you don't have enough morale for something, then it can just kind of kill the pace and everything. So, oh, okay. Somebody's saying play Hollow Knight. I have, it's funny you mentioned that. I ended up playing a lot of that. I enjoyed it mostly. I feel like they weren't, while it was good, I didn't feel like the music was good enough for everything else. I feel like the music, it was the wrong tone. It sort of reminded me of like kind of some Japanese films, or maybe like print or anime, like a Princess Mononoke. I feel like the music would fit right in with something like that. But this had more of a surreal look to it. But I think I may give up on that game. I mean, it's too bad. I probably should have streamed that one because I got to this boss. I've done him 30 times now, I think, at least. And I feel I've tried multiple strategies. I looked online for things and it's like, I think I'm probably like 80% through the game. This boss is like, I read it used to be easier, but they made it harder. It's like you're fighting this Manus guy. It's like Traitor Lord, I think it's called. And they want you to use these sort of dash mechanics, and it's like, I don't know. I guess I'm just not good enough at it. I'm really been trying because I got through every other boss I've come across, except like the Soul Tyrant. I didn't want to deal with that one yet. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I've literally tried this boss about 30 times. I feel like if I tried it just straight for like 3 hours, I probably could get through it just on luck. But, I'm trying to like not play games past the point of resentment, and that's where I am now with it. So, it's I'll probably watch like a playthrough of like the ending of it because it has me interested in the story. I was enjoying a lot of the game, but man, like, and you know what? I'm sure later bosses get even harder, but and the thing is, you don't really have an indicator like how close. Like that's the thing. I don't know how many hits I need to kill the boss, and I'm not seeing indicators that he's almost dead. So it could be I was like one hit away from winning. And when you know that, then that kind of motivates you. Or it could be I was another 15 hits away from it. So I don't know. It's just, and it was hilarious. I looked at a YouTube video of this, and it's so much easier. Apparently, that boss used to be a joke, so they kind of overcorrected. I mean, obviously, if you're skilled, people can do it, but like, you know what? It's not the 80s or the 90s anymore. There are so many other games. See, games I could be trying out. This is not like the only game I have, so it's a better use of my time to just throw in the towel on it, watch the ending that somebody else recorded, and be playing another game rather than just be playing that same boss section for hours and just becoming really bitter. So, I'm perfectly willing to accept that I just don't, I just can't hack it to get through that. or at least I don't want to spend what it would take for me to hack it. I'd rather make a new video, you know. If a game's feeling like genuine work, then that to me that's a sign to stop playing, play something else, or do real work, you know. Real work always has a better payoff than fake game work, you know. Okay, so yeah, I got sidetracked. Favorite 40K faction? You know, I honestly don't. I'm still just sort of learning about the lore of it. I'm probably not versed enough to have like a favorite. Again, it's like, and most of the lore, it always shows the perspective of just humanity being like on the brink of extinction, and like it's just it makes me not want to be. The lore does a good job of like making you really kind of root for humanity, and like because no matter, because like it has enough problems for you to like want to favor another side. So I guess the Imperium would be my favorite 40K faction, but even then there's sub factions underneath that. So I don't know. It's I mean, it's like the enemies are so vicious and so numerous in 40K. It's like I can't help but root for humanity. So, let's see. Are there any games out there that made you tear up or otherwise give you a strong emotional reaction? No games that made me tear up. Strong emotional reaction. I don't know. It's like if a game's like really sad or that may be with me, like having had the pressure come out of it. I think I've been kind of inoculated to a certain degree for that sort of thing. For when it's fake, because like I want to say because well, yeah, okay. I think I mentioned that before. Like this is one of those where, you know, game in quotes. I forget what the name of it's called. I literally mentioned this in another video chat, well, probably like a year ago or something, where it was this game where, yeah, that had like the most kind of gut wrenching reaction out of me out of like any game I've played. Yeah, again, game where again you're basically trying to play like a typical kind of low wage earner, single parent, trying to get through the month, and things like you choose like where your apartment is, and if you're in the city it costs a lot more, and if you're in the country it costs less, but then you have a longer commute, and then you have more issues with like car problems. And then like I got through the month, but man, it was hitting really close to home, just trying to get through that, and like you're having to make constant sacrifices with it. I think the game was like spent or something like that. So it was basically just like a text-based thing. I thought I'd play it just because I was kind of curious, but then like I was just like, oh my God, I can't keep playing this. Like it was, the stress was too real for me. just playing like a game. So it's like a free web game. It's probably still online. So I guess one that's more like a game, I guess, is somebody's giving a link, playspent.org. That's probably it. I mean, you'll be able to tell from the description. I mean, once you start playing it. I guess another one that was like kind of rough to get through was I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream, because that was just a really dark game. I mean, I can like dark stuff in the sense that it's kind of like a gateway to more fantastic things. I mean, well, again, Hollow Knight had some of that going on. But I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream, they're also really trying to drive home human suffering. And that's just not the kind of game I want to play. I have played through that, or I played, I can't remember if I beat it with hints or if I ended up watching a walkthrough by the end, but I played a good chunk of that. I saw it through to the end. I mean, it's just, yeah, somebody's read, I've read the book too, a short story. I actually think the game's better than the book because it goes in more, I mean, it's good. It's just, I don't want more of that, I guess. Or I wanted to, in smaller doses towards something else. Stuff that's like really focused on genuine suffering, you know, because it's, yeah, it's a game, it's complete sci-fi, but it's, the themes are very real world, I guess. So, okay, yeah, I should keep going. Let's see. One day someone knocks on your door with candy on their hands and that person tells you they want their soul back. How much candy of what kind would they have to give you for you to consider it? Some of the contract is on your hands. Well, if they wanted to hunt me down and cared about it that much, I'd probably just accept, a handful, or give it to them on the house. I don't know. Like if it's been bothering that person this long, then yeah, I'll give them their soul back. Because I'm pretty sure the majority of them are just, they forgot about it. So think of your worst enemy. Think of your worst enemy. Think of the person you hate the most in the whole world. Here's a scenario: you get $1 million. You get $1 million. However, your worst enemy gets $100 million, or you can both get nothing. What do you choose? I have to. I'm not sure I can think of like a person who is like my worst enemy. Because I mean, I could maybe think of people like that, like back in middle school or something. But I think my worst enemies tend to be more like faceless entities. So, like I'm like one of the most angry I've ever been was like when the bank. This was years ago. The bank really screwed me. Like what happened was I closed down I was living in Tennessee at the time. I closed down my account. Like I was there. I think even my dad was there with me when I did that. He gave me a ride back. And I moved out. And then later when I was living in Pittsburgh, I got this notice that had been redirected by the mail charging me for overdraft protection. Except there was no money in the account, which there shouldn't have even been an account. But and the thing is, they were kind of charging more every single day this went unresolved. So by the time I even saw this, I was owed them over $100. And for an account I shut down. Like I shouldn't even have an account for them. And this was at a time where I was just kind of living hand to mouth here. Like that was a big hit for me at the time. I mean, for my budgeting, like I forget what the fee was, and I was just so upset over that. Like, maybe kind of want to burn the place to the ground, but it's like, I mean, who do you blame? It's no person I know. There's a system, or even with Machinima to this day, I can't think of any single person to blame for that. Because there was the front line guy who was just basically lied to my face about saying, the contract will have this and it doesn't have that. There was the legal department that wasn't recognizing the protections in my contract and trying to swindle me essentially. And, basically acting dishonestly. And, I don't know who gave the orders on this stuff. Or, so do you blame the person who's carrying out the orders viciously? Or, do you blame the person who gave the orders? Like, was that their intent, that there would be like this? I mean, maybe, I don't know. And in which case, which manager? Was it the owner? Or so it's like a system you're fighting. So I don't know that. So like, I don't know. Like, so I don't know who my worst enemy would be. But let's go back to the question. Yeah, absolutely. Like, let's say it's somebody tangible I could hate. I would take $1 million. They get 100 million. I mean, geez, $1 million. I mean, if I figured out what I was doing with investing, I'd probably set for life. Like, I would probably cancel all donations or, take it down or something. I mean, it'd be, and if they get 100 million, it's like, okay, I don't like them, but I'm set for life. I mean, to me, that's a much bigger thing. I think if you wanted a dilemma, it would be if, like, let's say the person who's getting 100 million, there's a really strong argument they're gonna, like, my enemy is gonna use that to go like kill people or just ruin lives. I'd say the odds of that are probably low because the people who are doing that probably the money, it's not holding them back for the people that would be my enemies, or they're the sorts of people who, like, them getting 100 million will probably be a curse because they might not have the sort of mentality to use that money in a way that would be kind of meaningful for them, and it might eradicate their purpose or something, or I don't know. It could almost be a curse for them. But it's, the way I look at enemies or something, or just hate, he's saying people you hate. I want to say I don't really hate people so much because, like, even people who are doing this vile things, I just kind of look behind them and, like, look at, like, the system that allows this to happen, or, like, that put them in this position, or that, enabled them. And, like, it's not that, like, oh, don't hate anybody. It's more like, for people like that, I look at it more like from a problem approach. Like, this person is a problem. How do we solve the problem? And, like, usually the best option you have is to try to, it really depends on the situation. Like, if they're just making your life hell, the best thing you probably do is just find a way to get away from them and prioritize that. But let's say it's something that's not an option. It depends what sort of problem it is. I mean, if it's something like extreme where, they're taking, like, they're doing illegal things, maybe the best solution is to, like, covertly film them, then you submit that, then let the police handle that. Or, show them that they're doing something illegal. But even then, that could be the sort of, depending on the person you're talking about, that's the sort of thing that could lead to extreme retribution. So that, in which case, get out of there. I guess, so it's not that, oh, everybody's great and wonderful. No, not at all. It's not, I think that, it's just that hate doesn't really take you anywhere helpful, I found. Like, either for, like even if you get complete revenge scot-free, I think the real satisfaction from somebody you hate is just getting them so that they're no longer a problem for you. Like, it depends on the person, though, because some people may be highly motivated to stop them from hurting others. In which case, then it gets more complicated. It really depends on the situation. But yeah, just at face value, sure. Like, let's say some vile person gets 100 million and I get 1 million. Well, I'm set for life, and I'm gonna have, like, I'm gonna be able to do all sorts of fantastic things with that. So, and they'll probably be, like, one of the best events ever happening to me in my life. If they get 100 million, okay. As long as there cannot be my problem, great. So, yeah, or you can both get nothing. That the way, yeah, well, the reality, yeah, that's the reality, though. They're probably both gonna get nothing, but or my enemy gets a bunch of money and I don't. But that reminds me again of another Dilbert comic where Dogbert, Dilbert's dog, comes up to him and says, would you rather win the lottery or get whacked in the lips with a dead mole while you sleep? And Dilbert's like, I'd rather have the money. It's like, well, that's too bad because you didn't win the lottery. And then walks away. So I kind of feel like that's how this question is. Okay, that's too bad. You didn't win the million. Okay. Oh, I have not heard of Samsung's decision to shut down Blu-ray production in order to invest in streaming. Oh, okay. So, I wonder if that means others are allowed to still produce Blu-rays or not. Or I wonder. Oh, yeah, Samsung, of course. Sony owns the patent. So, okay, no, I hadn't heard of that. Although this doesn't only affect movies, TV series, and home video, but also video games that still receive box arts. If owning and preserving stuff is going to become harder, what solution would you suggest to deal with it? Okay, well, for sidestepping the whole dead game issue, because most people watching this probably know my stance on that. I would say, yeah, and I'm running late again. Oh well, so I guess there were good questions. The what was I gonna say for video? Just I'm not sure what the best way. I guess ripping streams if they're not offering it on in another fashion. I mean, I would think that's like an extension. I'm not even sure that's illegal. I think that might be or it should be a natural extension. I want to say it was like Sony versus Betamax, where they found like you are legally allowed, like if it's a TV show, you are legally 100% allowed to record that on. Then it was on the Betamax or I guess later VHS to do that and hold on to a copy of it. And that doesn't mean you can sell copies of that, and it may not even mean you can legally distribute them, but you can back it up. So I would think, ripping a stream or recording it would be exactly like that. I am not sure what the best method of recording a stream is. That I would be interested to know that, actually. Somebody wants to email me about that, but I mean, it depends. There's some, like on YouTube, there's a lot of tools for that. But if it's like more generic, then, it might depend. Yeah, actually, I'm going to start doing that with some YouTube videos I really like after seeing the Machinima thing go down. It makes me think, yeah, I better not wait. I better back up all this stuff that I really like. So, yeah, games are in a completely separate category because basically any video or audio, there are ways to do it. And I'd say the format doesn't really matter so much as redundancy. Because if it's on a Blu-ray or if it's on a hard drive or somewhere, as long as it's like in more than one place, that's what matters. I'm not sure about Blu-rays. I have had store-bought DVDs go bad from disc rot. Like, so this is like, completely, not a burn thing or anything like that, but like, stamped, bought in a store. Like, yeah, I had a copy of Saving Private Ryan go just completely bad. So, even physical media isn't a guarantee. But what I found is redundancy is the thing that matters. So basically you can look at backup from any perspective, like, okay, say this particular copy that you're listening to or watching dies. Do you have a way to to get it somewhere else? If the answer is yes, you're probably okay. If the answer is no, then you're not. It's about that simple. So, okay. If you had to pick an instrument to master, which one would you pick and why? I'd probably go with piano. I already have some. I can play a few things on keyboard, but I can do some of the notes. We mentioned it earlier with Mortal Kombat. I can do some of the notes of the Mortal Kombat theme, like dun 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 dun. But yeah, I guess piano, or keyboard, Does free will exist? Man, I have a Civil Protection episode script, partially voiced, partially have assets for it that really addresses this. I'm just not gonna answer because that's not an episode I've given up on. I'd still want to make it, but this is what I mean about sometimes I get these questions that it drive me crazy because I have a perfect video idea for it, How has the value difference between the American dollar and Polish affected your life? Has it been easier or harder to live on the same amount in Poland compared to the States? It's only been easier in my case because I came here during like the worst ratio where the dollar was like at its weakest compared to the zloty. And it's only been better since then. But you know what? I'm not even sure because I get payments from here. I get payments through like Google in Ireland, probably because of some tax thing. So I think it gets converted to zlotys, but I think technically I get paid in dollars. So if the dollar were to weaken, that would hit me harder maybe than the zloty weakening. But okay, let's see. Which again, what's the best way to plan for the long-term future with savings? Yeah, yeah. Feel free to email me on that because I do not know. I mean, because I think what's worked for like the past half a century may not necessarily work in the next half century, I guess. Have you ever gotten creative insights or videos while you were bored, like when you were a security guard, or was it all mostly torture? Yes, on both counts. Yes, I would get ideas, and yes, it was still kind of torture. So, are there any tiny mistakes that you made that eat you up more than it has any right to? Probably, but the fact that I'm not thinking about it right now is a good sign, so I'm not going to dwell on it. Do you have any tip of the tongue games you remember playing a long time ago but don't remember the title of? I've hunted down most of them. Yeah, actually, the Captain Zap was one of those. I think I only have 2 left. That I just have no idea what they were. One or maybe 3. One was an old Commodore 64 game. My images on this were so vague. It's almost not even worth describing. Oh no, there's 2. There's another one. There, it was just, it had a black background that really narrows it down. But I think it was some platformer kind of adventure thing that it was well done, I think. That doesn't narrow it down at all. The other one is a little more narrowed down. I could have sworn it had Alien in the title, but I did a search and no game I could find that had Alien in the title seemed to match it, so I must have that wrong. This one was a little more interesting. See, somebody's saying Dizzy's Adventure. No, the graphics are more crude than that. This other one was, geez, I want to say you were like visiting an alien planet, or maybe it was like you were managing like an alien kind of outpost or city or something. And I think I remember there being like a surface view, like where some pod was, and then like a below ground view level. But I'm not sure if it was like an adventure game or maybe like a management thing, but it had like a kind of an interesting premise. So, yeah, I don't know. I have no idea what that one is. Maybe I'll try and hunt it. And then there's 2 more. One was, these were both in a computer lab that I saw them. One, I think I know which one it was. Let's see. I'll have to try it out. It was some sort of adventure game where you're by these temples and stuff. Let's see. I think what I was seeing was called Time Lapse. That was an old game. And then the other one, I have no idea. I'm not sure I'm ever going to find this one. It was this educational game, edutainment game, where it was, what? It was in this suburban setting. It's not The Adventures of Willie Beamish, but it kind of had that look to it. It's a graphic adventure game. And I remember you go to a map view, and I remember in the game you were trying to solve different things, and one of the things you were trying to solve was, like, I think the salinity of like the local stream was too high, and it was like they were kind of making a mystery or an investigation out of it. And I may even have music in my head from that, but I'm not sure. But I don't know. It's probably nothing special as far as games go, but it's just, I saw it, so I'm curious what that was. So, no, it's not EcoQuest. Somebody's asking about that. I've checked all the big candidates. So, okay, so yeah, let's see. I gotta get trickier. Do you have any opinion on the SCP Foundation with regard to the games and the website? What? I don't know what that is. Let's see. A fictional organization that I don't know. Sorry. Okay, so next question. What would it take for you to get hyped for a video game again? There are a few. All right, it's the theme. It's the theme. One you're gonna find out about in one of my future videos. I'll say I'm getting kind of psyched for Cyberpunk though. That's actually one of the reasons I'm taking almost like a media blackout on it. I don't want to know. Like I saw the first trailer, that was enough. Like I don't need they don't need to convince me that I'm gonna want to play that game. So let's see. Would you ever consider publicly uploading all the modded maps, events, and tweaks you're using for Freeman's Mind 2 sometime? Maybe it's after it's finished. Yeah, I guess, but it's sort of like a Freeman's Mind 2 map pack. I mean, it's this sort of thing where, like, it takes time to put all that stuff together. Like, you know what I would want to do is honestly just hand that off to somebody else who cares more about it. They would go through my files, clean it all up, and make something presentable. So yeah, I have no problem with that. Like, it's more just the time involved with getting it all organized. Like, cause I save backup files for, oh geez, You know what? I'm not even sure I save backup files of the maps. I just realized. Like I've been saving them in the demos, but yeah, because we're using more custom maps now. No, wait, no. I think I do save them. I think I wasn't originally because they were vanilla maps at first, but then we've had some more modded ones. Yeah, I am saving that. Forget what I'm saving. But yeah, it would be sort of a mess because sometimes a lot of times what I'll do is, like, let's say I have one map, but then I also had a variation. And by the time I get around to backing it up, I don't remember which one I was using. So I'm like, fine, just zip them both up and I'll just save it. So I could have all these kind of red herring files that aren't it mixed in with the things that are it. And there's no way I want to deal with that stuff. It's the same with civil protection also, actually. So, okay. What is your opinion about the mods that have potential to be killed? Oh, like a Skyrim multiplayer mod, but it only works with servers they host. And there's a possibility that I'm getting in trouble and losing access to the server. Again, I don't like that, but I feel like that's not something as big a deal to me. I mean, it is and it isn't. It's the sort of thing where I feel like there's no real progress to be made focusing on that specifically, because like those are free, mods. So I can't really fault someone if they don't back up a completely free game that they released and then it dies because of how they made it. I mean, yes, I do not like that, but if that's how they wanted it, and you can try to appeal to them and say, hey, please, release the relevant files so we can keep this running. But I feel like there's nothing that should be there to really kind of force them to do that because, it's their game. You didn't pay. Whereas I feel like when you pay them money in order to play the game, I feel like that crosses a line where they're accepting the responsibility of taking that money. Whereas if they're just releasing it for free, I feel like, there's a social obligation, but I feel like there's no real hard responsibility they need to take for that because it's free. It's great that you enjoyed it, but it's theirs. But, with the money comes the responsibility, like, no, you got to give somebody for what they paid you. And also, let's say you try to enforce that in some way. I can make like a board game and just like out of some cardboard and paper. And then it's just like, you know what, this sucks, and just throw it away. Well, if you were to enforce that, that would make that illegal, which would be just insane. But, if I'm selling copies of that board game and then I break into their house at night and steal it and then destroy it, oh, okay, yeah, that's a different standard. You see what I'm saying? I'm no longer destroying my copy. I'm destroying your copy, and you paid for it. So it's like I just don't see how it's enforceable if it just everything's free, because that would be overreach, I think. But the other point is I want to keep eyes on commercial games, because guess what? If you can stop commercial games from doing this, a lot of mods are just sort of piggybacking on the infrastructure that the paid games have. So if you kill that there, you're probably going to stop this problem a lot with mods elsewhere. So get to the source. Get to the source. But yeah, I mean, I don't like that, but that's just sort of unfortunate. You're not being, at least with a mod dying, you're not being robbed. Okay, so we got another request for Vampire the Masquerade, Bloodlines, or Arcanum. Yeah, well, we'll see. The Vampire the Masquerade especially has gotten a lot of recommendations. Arcanum I tried to play, but I just wasn't getting into it, but I don't know. How many hours do you have in Half-Life Source? I don't know. I hate checking how many hours I put into a game. And plus, a lot of that was done on an emulator, too. So it probably wasn't tracking the stats on it. Or if I reinstall it, then that's wiped. So, what are some games you played throughout your life that you keep coming back to play every now and then? Not as many, just because there's so many games now. Although, I'll tell you what, though. I'm going to come back and play a lot in VR. Like old games. Like I really want to see if I can get like the old Need for Speed games working in that. Like, 2 through 5, basically. I want to play those. I think I want to replay Kingpin. Just any that I just kind of, I like the environments and I want to check them out. I'm going to replay a bunch of those. Like, and they don't make me sick. So I want to say I'd try Forsaken again. Maybe not Forsaken. that one might make me sick. Let's see. What are some others? Yeah. See, some games I kind of want to let get more faded in my memory before I revisit them. I probably want to replay some of the Legacy of Kain game, the 3D ones, Legacy of Kain games. I might do some of Shadow Man. Yeah, so these aren't ones I necessarily come back to again and again, but these are ones like, yeah, I want to play these in VR. So, Unreal. Oh, yeah. Unreal, probably Quake 2. I'm going to do those. But I guess I don't come back to new ones again and again. Well, I've been doing that a little bit with Warcraft 3. And I was doing it for a while with Unreal Tournament 2004, but now I may have had my saturation of that. And there's some Half-Life mods. Like, man, we'll see how it goes with a gaming session. I could end up doing this a lot more. Well, I love Zombie Panic, but I'll see. I still feel like Fortress Forever got kind of broken for the way I like to play it, but which was, balanced teams for attack and defend maps, which that was not their philosophy for a really long time. But okay, why not host a quick custom mode in Warcraft 3 or StarCraft 2 that can hold a dozen people and end in 30 minutes so a new batch of people can get in? Yeah, maybe, but I don't know. I find like the longer games tend to be more fun, because if it's like, I don't know, I'm not the rush master, so whereas you can kind of see different strategies evolve more in longer games. So I don't know. Okay, this is a question that's going to have to be voted up more next time, because I'd have to think about it. How the history of humanity would be different if head crabs were real-life animals. We might have killed them, or they might be endangered species by now, because that'd be the case. Yeah, okay, I can answer now. That'd be the case where it's a predator that's so dangerous to humanity, it has more value dead than a live or just really contained. So, and it's large enough that we can maybe do something about it, or we could develop a toxin that would just target it. Okay, somebody's asking about if there's a game to be made based on your upcoming movie. What kind of game would it be? I don't want to give any hints. Sorry. And how much would you have to be paid for it to be an online only game? I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it. I mean, it would just. Well, okay, no. No, I'd be fine with it being online only as long as I can commit from day one to an end of life plan. So yeah, okay, once it stops being online only, yeah, fine. Then here are the server files, or here's the source code, or something. Yeah, no, yeah. So that's the thing. I'm not against online only. I'm just against how like 99% of online only games get abused and they leave you with nothing. So it's possible to do it responsibly. It every once in a while happens, When making the first Freeman's Mind, was there a reason that Freeman never used the revolver from Power Up? No, I think I did use that. Didn't I shoot Barney with it? Once he found out that I had him identify a drop weapon, wouldn't have made much sense to hang on to. Well, Freeman is all over the place with his thoughts, so I'm not necessarily going to go with the progression. I guess what it is like, okay, pretend you're shooting things that are trying to kill you, okay? You have, what is it, a Glock, was it 18 or Glock 17, something, one of those? Would you rather have that with a full clip, like, 10, 12 shots or whatever? I don't know what the full, or just a 6-shot revolver, a Magnum. So yeah, it can punch through, but if the Glock kills you, I'd rather have the extra bullets, like in reality. I mean, see, I'm looking at this from the perspective of this is real for Freeman. Not just from a game perspective where, okay, optimize with this more powerful weapon, I mean, yeah, if it's a helicopter, sure, go for the Magnum, but, it's, and plus there was more ammo for there's more ammo for the submachine gun and the Glock, so there's not a lot, in real life, there's not a lot of problems, there's not a lot of problems of things trying to kill you that's not going to take care of. So, again, if it's a helicopter, sure, go for the Magnum. Or if, yeah, and I guess the soldiers had body armor, but, it's like I needed a certain amount of shot. There's no distinction between, in the game, between a soldier that's been killed versus one that just is down, So, I mean, if that was the distinction, I might have that more, but since they're all either living or dead, nothing in between in the game, the priority is just making sure they go down and again, stop being the problem, Okay. Oh yeah. Have you heard that Google is going to launch its own streaming service for games and a console for it as well? If so, what are your thoughts on that? I'm hesitant if I should make a dead game news on that. I mean, maybe this is the beginning of the end for a whole lot of games. It depends on. Well, we'll see. We'll see. I mean, if it's just streaming and that's their only aspirations, whatever. I don't. It doesn't really appeal to me, but I'm not against it. But I'm very pessimistic about it. Only just that's where it ends. Ross, when in time did your Game Dungeon videos have a massive jump in views? I noticed they have a default 200 to 400K views. Whoa, but I figure it wasn't like that in the beginning. I don't know. I think it's been like a slow ramp, and then some episodes get more. Like the Deus Ex ones got a lot. I think those were some of the more popular ones. I have no idea which one's the most popular. I guess I could look that up. Okay, man. There's all these questions at the end. All right, let's see. Have you thought about setting up an Accursed Farms gaming group? Yeah, maybe. That's not a bad idea. Where we could have things more official with hosts, and then maybe it could go more frequently. I could just pop in sometimes rather than having it be official. Yeah, it's not a bad idea. It's just lower part. Sorry, but the play sessions pretty much always take lower priority than like the long thought out edited videos where, you know, hopefully people aren't going to watch now and in the future. Okay, this is a good question, but if you're caught in a Groundhog Day style time loop, what sorts of esoteric skills and talents would you occupy yourself with learning to master? Well, I learned Polish, probably be number one, but I'd have to think about it. I'd probably play a whole lot of different games, you know, because. But yeah, okay. So skills and talents. I could probably learn a martial arts. Why not? Let's see. What are some other things? Maybe brush up more on survival skills. Hey, I could finally get around to learning financial stuff like stocks. Even, like I don't really have an interest in that, but I feel like that's one possible way to prepare yourself long term if you know what you're doing, which I really do not. So it's like I don't want to learn stocks, but I feel like maybe I should, or some. I don't know. I'd rather make more videos. I'd learn all these other video editors I've been using. I might finally learn some on 3D modeling. I don't have experience with that. Well, yeah, I know. Oh, yeah, I'd learn Unreal up and down. And you know what? Do Unity while I'm at it. So, okay. Okay, yeah, the Revenant poster again. Oh, any consideration for PlanetSide Arena? No, because I'm not really interested in Battle Royale games. I don't know. It just, something about it just, well, one, you're not going to get like a deep experience from, I mean, like again, I mentioned Subnautica again. That has that kind of, that has those wow moments that, you know, can kind of pay off. But that's what I mean by deep experience. So something where you're really engrossed. For me, it's not going to do that. Two, I don't know. It just puts me in a state of mind that's like, again, it's completely ridiculous and you're totally justified criticizing it, but it puts me in this sort of dystopian frame of mind, you know, that like, that I really don't like, I guess, because it's like, you remember how I said before how most of my enemies are kind of faceless entities? I feel like that's what Battle Royale is. You know, this person is your enemy and that you have to kill them so they don't kill you, but the whole scenario is, you know, it's orchestrated. And it's like, I don't know, I just can't shut that out of my head. It's just like, I feel like I'm fighting the wrong people. Like, I guess my kind of Battle Royale game would be a Battle Royale game where it starts off that way, but then you break out and then you're like, it's like you versus the dystopia or something. I would want something more like that. Like it just sort of messes with my head for like the enemy or something. It seems like it should be hypocritical because that's just what deathmatch is, you know, in normal first-person shooters. Which I don't know. But deathmatch is like way more action-oriented too. So I don't know. You know what? I think it's not worth me getting into Battle Royale anyway, because that's at least a lot of games I can just sort of scratch off that I don't have to play because there's so many other things I'm interested in doing. So let's see. Came across. Okay, which of these two scenarios come closer to the truth regarding the origin of Game Dungeon? You came across a game so good or so interesting it made you want to tell everyone about it, and the idea for the show got going from there? Or you were considering for a long time the idea of holding a show which you could talk about games with no big epiphany moment involved? I guess a little bit closer to the second one. It's, I think what led to Game Dungeon was, I saw other people kind of talking about games. I was thinking, well, I might be able to do better than some of these. And the other is a lot of games I was familiar with, I had never seen any of the games media talk about. Like, okay, maybe there was one article on one site that gave it a review 10 years ago, and that's it. And these are games like, you'd think there'd be more mention of, like, but like this, I knew from the beginning I was going to cover Armed and Delirious at some point. I mean, that's a game, okay, yeah, it's not something you're going to hear about all the time, but to just never mention it, to never mention this game, like this game is not worthy of commentary in any context or weird games or like, so I felt like there's a lot of gaps in game coverage. So it's like, you know what, maybe I'll just kind of see, even if I'm not saying anything particularly profound, maybe just exposing people to some of these games that I've seen might kind of fill in some gaps on this. So, and maybe I can cover more that way. Okay, I've answered this multiple times. Let's skipping a bit. What IP has your favorite or most interesting vampire lore? Well, I wouldn't consider myself vampire expert, actually. I guess Legacy of Kain's pretty interesting as for vampire lore, but I guess something more normal. I don't know. Maybe again, I'm not an expert, but maybe Vampire the Masquerade, just because they have such a wide variety of the types of vampires. That they have all these different characteristics. But I don't know who has like the best as far as like story and writing. Just wondering if your opinion, is it worth trying to get a channel going on YouTube given the current state of things? I sure wouldn't try to attempt it financially, but you know what? That's how I started. I wasn't trying to do this financially. I mean, I was making civil protection. I just wanted to make videos. So. But the thing is, YouTube's kind of the only game in town, really. It's like I mentioned in the demonetization video. I think their closest competitor, YouTube is 20 times larger than their closest competitor, and that's a Chinese video site. So it's like, so even if they really were their closest competitor, it's kind of a different market, between English speakers and Chinese. Let's see. Okay, I'm skipping. I'm not that familiar with Polish cinema. Are there any villains in the form of media, TV, movies, etc., who have legitimately frightened you? No, they're not real. I guess I've seen actions. I've seen, I guess, kind of real world stuff frighten me, but. Game Dungeon for Heretic 2. I've never actually beaten Heretic 2. That might be another one I want to do in VR. I mean, I got several levels in, but Game Dungeon for Serious Sam. Maybe. I don't know. Russ. Somebody was wondering, Gaming Zone 61 wants a happy birthday. Happy late birthday. Full story of Gorilla Gong. That was an attempt to try to have a home for Machinima when basically the company Machinima was basically just threw it overboard. That may be coming back. That's, actually, in fact, if you go there, it says it's going to return. I'm still in touch with the guy who's running it now. So you're at the very least, even if he ends up bailing on that, I'll make sure there's like a list of everything we gathered there. I think his plan was, we got overwhelmed, so we're just gonna leave. If he brings it back, it's gonna be like more community focused. But yeah, no, we just thought it might make sense, and if we get enough traffic, then it could kind of pay for itself and promote smaller people. But it was an experiment, you know. Again, I don't regret doing it. I think I would have regretted not doing it. So even if it did turn out as well, but who knows? Maybe with Machinima dying full stop, it does better. So okay, I don't know for YouTube channels. I got to catch up on some myself. Okay, I'm seeing some repeated questions. I'm skipping more. Oh yeah, he's asking about the modified map. It was my idea to exit out the window of the barn. That seemed like the natural place to do it. But Toby's the one who made that happen. Was Half-Life your first X's Mind choice, or were you considering other games at the time? Yeah. So Half-Life wasn't necessarily the first choice for Civil Protection, but since I made Civil Protection first and had some fans, and Freeman was one of the most famous silent protagonists in gaming, it was a natural for Freeman's Mind. So there were no gaming alternatives I was considering for Freeman's Mind, but there were for Civil Protection. Okay, more questions. If you could help develop cybernetic engineers with advanced modifications, what would want to create? I guess we had a typo there. So what would I want to create with the cybernetic? Well, if I was doing that, then I might do some save the planet kind of stuff. You know, try to figure out how we could get to sustainability, or use the technology for that. Like, so maybe some more advanced kind of terraforming things or something like that. I feel like a lot of our problems aren't really. Oh, okay, I'm getting off track. Let's see. I'm not. Somebody's asking about anime. I'm not going to have anything particularly insightful on that. I've only seen like some of the most famous ones. You know, Princess Mononoke, Ghost in the Shell. Saw Death Note. Friend keeps telling me I need to see Berserk, which I will at some point. So. Man, the questions just. You know, we might have to start like capping how many of these questions there are. Like you know, past a certain cutoff point, it just makes them, because I think I'm getting more and more. Okay, I'm skipping some more. For those who want to see good machinimas, whenever that Gorilla Gong list comes back, I'll get it from them one way or another. I'll for sure make like my personal recommended one. Okay, yeah, he's asking if the Peanuts short you're talking about in Freeman's Mind 2 last episode, is that real? He really wants to see Snoopy destroying stuff with a giant bull lizard. Yes, that is real. Race for Your Life, Charlie Brown. That's what that one's from. The second adpocalypse caused by Matt Watson. I don't know who that is. But I know YouTube's, they're doing some stuff lately. Like they banned all comments on videos with minors. That actually does affect my future plans a bit, because, you know, I didn't have time or the connections, but if I had, I would have gotten an actual kid to read that end segment of Mabus. You know, it's like, oh, and then you go to the pyramid, and then the spaceship, and then the alien. Like if I knew like a 5-year-old or 6-year-old or something, like, and you know, had parents' permission, and they were monitoring it and everything, for sure I would have had them do that. But I actually had an idea for a teaser for the movie that would involve kids, as sort of like, well, okay, I could spoil this much. that like, like they're gathered around somebody who's like an old man who's like, gonna tell, they want him to tell them a story or something like that. But yeah, if they keep if that becomes too volatile for YouTube, I guess I won't do that. It was just gonna be like a teaser for it that I thought would be pretty neat. I can modify it. But yeah, let's see. I think they're deprioritizing conspiracy videos. Maybe the Deus Ex video will go down then in viewers. Well, we'll see. Who knows what's coming with YouTube? I mean, my understanding on that situation. I mean, okay, again, I know nothing about what his specific question, but just kind of general trends that are happening. My understanding on this stuff, like the best theory I've heard, because I mean, who knows for certain, aside from YouTube board members, is that like a lot of this, a lot of it's related to ads, and the advertisers are concerned that, our ads are appearing on a, something controversial or offensive that we don't want. However, what I've heard is that concern is actually coming from, I guess, bad faith agents in mainstream media. So if you look at like CNN or MSNBC or Fox, ABC, whoever, there's kind of like this mainstream old guard TV channels. It's in their interest to raise all this doubt and find, one example of, or just a few examples that don't represent the majority in any shape, way, or form of stuff that like, yeah, this is pretty toxic. We don't want our ads by this, and kind of get the fear mongering going, or, essentially like a really loud minority. So like, let's say, you have like 1% of videos that, yeah, advertisers do not want that on there. But the only reason this is coming to light, because most people are just not going to watch these, or else they're not really going to affect things. Not really going to affect anything, because it's just like, okay, this is just some hateful guy or person, or just somebody saying something terrible that most people don't want to pay attention to. See, you have the people, the workers for like the major companies are going to point that out to the advertiser, say, hey, look at this, or they'll send it to some media organization, like some more like kind of print media places, and then say, yeah, look at this is terrible, and then so it makes the problem look a lot bigger than it is. So it's kind of self-fulfilling prophecy, because then you get the media coverage, which they want. And so the advertisers are like, whoa, we better back off from YouTube. We're going to pull our dollars here. And hey, you know what? Why don't we put it on normal, regular television, because that's safer and vetted and that sort of thing. So you're going to kind of keep seeing these issues come up, I think. I mean, anyway, I don't know if that's the case, but that's certainly a very sound explanation to me, because it's financially motivated, because you're going to keep having because the real competition to YouTube is kind of old traditional media like television. And so this is their way of kind of like attacking the competitor, kind of like, yeah, the more doubt they can raise to major advertisers about the liability of advertising on YouTube, the better, because that just works in their favor. And again, hey, look at TV, it's nice and safe, or our channels are nice and safe, because, a YouTuber can kind of do anything. But a good comment here. My brain is already playing the UNATCO theme. Yeah, that's the best. So who knows what's coming with YouTube? I have no idea. Probably nothing particularly helpful, but I'll keep dancing. Yeah, I think like they can hit people for. Yeah, okay, I should maybe mention that here. I did not mean to go on this long. I heard like in some cases they're trying to like weaponize they're making the YouTube channel people responsible for the comments. It's like, give me a break. Like, any major channel has time to do that and make the videos. Yeah, maybe if you're yeah, maybe if you have a crew of people and you're really getting monetized, but anybody in between, or basically anybody from small viewers who like they're happy for every comment, they're reading every one because not many people see their videos, versus large organizations where you have someone that's their whole job is to monitor comments. Anyone in between there, forget it. And I'm certainly in that category. So yeah, if you ever see people kind of weaponizing the comments on the videos, because I'm unlikely to catch it, go ahead and downvote that stuff or report it or whatever. I don't mean critical ones. So if somebody thinks what it is garbage and they're gonna speak their mind, sure, whatever. I'm talking about ones that are like weaponized. There's only one intent of what they're writing there. So they're just trying to get the, I guess, kind of weapon troll or something. So yeah, not critical comments. I'm not trying to silence people on that. Just let's see. Yeah, somebody's right. Bob is building an army. I saw those all over. It was kind of this spam thing, which had ASCII characters that made it look like a tank or something. I don't know if that would count or not. Well, that was kind of spam, I guess. So you can downvote spam, but okay. So yeah, I'm almost ready for live questions. You can put 3 equal signs in front of the question. I'll try and answer a few, and maybe in the future we'll have a cutoff point for the submitted ones because it's getting to be too big now. So we're just gonna have to go with the ones. Like I'll try to I didn't have a chance to look over these, very many of them beforehand, but maybe in the future, if I see some minor ones that I like, like I think, oh, that's a pretty good question, then maybe I'll kind of select some of those and just scrap everything else below a certain point line or something. So it doesn't mean you can't get your question answered. It just means you either have to email me or else you'll have to try again next time and get it more popular. So, Ross, what's your opinion on BitChute? Okay, I'm drawing a blank what that is. Is that like it's like a distributed streaming or something? Video hosting service that uses peer-to-peer web. Yeah, okay. You know what? I've seen a lot of would-be YouTube competitors come and go. Hey, maybe it lasts, maybe it doesn't, maybe it remains niche. I don't know. I'm always, I tend to kind of bet on the house with this sort of thing. Like, I mean, YouTube is, for all intents and purposes, a de facto monopoly. So that's not easy to overthrow. So it's not possible, but I know where I would put if I had to bet on it, I wouldn't bet on it. So, and I'm not singling out BitChute, just any, Will you ever go back to your earlier game presentation style? Your tone was somewhat calmer. Tyrion was a great episode. And what have we learned here? Segments. Yeah, I might do that again. See, I don't notice the big difference between those, but I don't rewatch my old stuff very much, if at all. I'll be honest, like a lot of my videos, I of course watch them to make sure they're good when I'm putting them up. And then it's almost like I never want to look at them again. But it's for stuff that I'm voicing. Yeah, like if it was something that I just made, then I'm more, like it's easier for me to watch Civil Protection than it is to watch for like Freeman's Mind or Game Dungeon. So, I mean, me personally, because, yeah, I might, for the calmer, it just depends on the episode. Again, I just want a reason for people to watch it. That doesn't mean it has to be like just madness and screaming or anything like that. But you gotta build the intrigue somehow, I guess. So, Tyrion was a little more vanilla. I kind of wanted to play it safe starting off. Well, even in Tyrion, I was kind of veering off talking about like how I thought the writing of World of Warcraft was like a lot weaker. So I think I was still kind of finding my feet with that, but I don't want to get rid by no means do I want to get rid of tangential conversations in Game Dungeon. But I realize there maybe haven't been as many of those lately. So, well, in the Halloween episode, we had the Phantom, you know. And then I was talking about games that I modified. So I don't know. Some episodes would be calmer than others if that's what you're worried about. Okay. I recently watched a video about hidden entity names in Half-Life opposing force and 2 of the soldiers. Have you met the entity names Mike and Dave? Oh, yeah. Somebody asked about that. That was answered last chat. Yeah, that's just a pure coincidence that Mike and Dave were in opposing force. Their characters named that. Somebody's asking me about Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines. Yeah, I guess I'll have to do it eventually. I don't know. That's one of those games that kind of gives me mixed feelings about. Like, some stuff's really good, but it didn't quite grab me how I wanted it to. It's mostly an atmospheric criticism where I don't have an obvious answer, like what didn't get me about it. So, yeah, see, that happens in a lot of games where, like I was mentioning Ubisoft at the beginning, that something doesn't. Well, Ubisoft's more extreme, but like parts of it feel hollow to me, and they're just not grabbing me, and I don't know why. Sometimes I figure it out. If I figure out, I can make a game dungeon on it. But it's like if I don't know why, it's like, man, I gotta have some direction for what I'm saying here. If I'm making a video on it, and I'm saying I don't know why a really popular game's not grabbing me as much. I mean, there's stuff I do like about Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines, but like I don't like. For instance, I to put it in perspective, I found myself more kind of engrossed by the story in Vampire the Masquerade Redemption than Bloodlines. I mean, the gameplay is a lot more flexibility in what you can do in Bloodlines and take the different ways. But I don't know. I just kind of got into the kind of the flow and the storyline more of the first one. It's not that it's like amazing, but, and again, I don't know why. I guess because the story is structured more tightly. I don't know. So, Ross, would you at all compare Freeman to Yossarian from Catch-22? Let's see. Yeah, Yossarian was like the main guy, right? So, I'd say Freeman. I'd say he has similar paranoia as Yossarian. Yeah. So I would, that aspect of him, I'd say Freeman's way more aggressive than Yossarian. And maybe, less sort of moral quandaries, more action-oriented, that sort of thing. But yeah, his concern about things and like just trying to find ways out. Yeah. I'd say there's like some parallels for sure. Any plans of doing a video for Black and White? It's not planned. You know, that's one I haven't actually finished myself. I played a little ways into it, but it wasn't quite grabbing me. But again, some people love that one. In fact, I gave that one to my wife as sort of a gift because she plays a lot of Minecraft. I know she's always doing these experiments on villagers and getting mods for that. I gave her Black and White and From Dust. I haven't played From Dust, but I know it's that kind of God game thing, and she certainly has some interest in it. So she played some of it. We'll see if she plays more. But I still need to listen to the Doom 2016 soundtrack. Somebody's asking about that. So I'm sure it's good. You know what? Okay, I have like the most petty grudge of all here. Okay, something bothers me in that I saw this article a while back. I forget where. Maybe someone could find it. That they were talking about like the making of like Doom's soundtrack, and it started off that like the producers or whatever were telling the artists like, okay, it was like kind of make this theme, but maybe add like 20% metal. And then they did that, and they're like, okay, maybe add 30% metal, or maybe add just a little more. And then it sort of evolved as just sort of like a metal soundtrack. And then I guess what it was is like the article was framed like this is this great discovery. Like who knew? Like and and like this is just brilliance. And you know what? I'm sure the soundtrack's great. But I just I get annoyed. It's just like, yeah, who knew making your music distinctive would win people over, and that's what gives your game more personality and something people want to like. I mean, yeah, that's not appropriate for every single game or movie, but good God, it's like I could have been screaming that in your face from the beginning. Like, it was when I did the Alexander Brandon interview with Tom White. That's on his channel, Weird Video Games. I brought this up because I noticed that even just from going from Deus Ex 1 to Deus Ex 2, or Invisible War, that like it just felt so much more toned down. It's still nice, but like it's just not as distinctive. Everything's kind of more airy and just kind of in the background. And yeah, he got what I was saying, and he was mentioning how it had been going on for 15 years, and yeah, let's just make every single game like that. And so yeah, it was kind of cathartic to hear that from him. So, because Deus Ex's music is really distinctive. But yeah, so I'm sure it's a great soundtrack. That's like a real pet peeve I have about the industry. It's just like, who knew? Yeah. If you have no perspective on gaming history at all, then I guess this is a big surprise. Yeah, because there was plenty of distinctive stuff in the 90s for game music. I mean, just loads of it. So I don't know. I just remember that it just like getting under my skin about that. I mean, it's one thing to not know about all these weird games I played. It's another thing to not know about just basic gaming history and just for being a game producer and not knowing just basic game history about some things. I mean, everybody has blind spots, but come on. It's like you never knew these games existed. That goes back to the AAA game stuff where, again, they just sort of follow each other and it's kind of incestuous almost what they do. So just because the games feel hollow now, look, I bet there's going to be some copycat stuff after, or I hope there is, after Cyberpunk comes out. So there's a lot of groupthink, I think, that goes on inside the mainstream game industry. Okay, let's see. What was your favorite movie by Carpenter besides The Thing? Okay, I gotta look up what he's done. Gotta remember. That's a good question. Okay. Oh, I guess it would probably... Okay, yeah. I'm just looking at everything. I've seen most of it. Oh, wow, he did Memoirs of an Invisible Man? Was that, or is he just a producer? No, he must have been. Oh, yeah, wow, he's the director of that. Well, that was a good one. But yeah, okay, my favorite, I'd say probably either Big Trouble in Little China or else Escape from New York. I think those would be my favorites by him. I'm trying to see if there's... I mean, because some are like considered class. I mean, They Live is kind of fun, but it's not like, great movie ever. But yeah, the thing is like a far, like those are all kind of like far seconds for me from The Thing. I mean, Halloween is one of those where I feel like it was more like impressive for the time. And it still works as like a... Well, actually, I kind of liked Halloween 3. It was because it was something different. Okay, but yeah, we have to... Okay, keep questions. Try and get a few more in. Okay, I'm skipping some. I'm not sure the demographics for the viewers for... I don't know if they... Like he's asking if they come from Alaska or Solomon Islands. I don't know if I can tell if what state they're coming from, or territories. Oh, somebody's saying BitChute pays better than YouTube. I was not aware of that. I could try doing something like that. Although again, YouTube pays a much. Like, I mean, I'd be out on the street if it was just YouTube income at this point. Pretty much everything I predicted in that Begathon video came true. Like where I thought it was going with the trend I was seeing, and so I'm glad I made that when I did. Do you mostly spend time at the computer, or do you ever delve in the local culture? Well, I mean, I'm going out every day for exercise and going on hikes. I sometimes do, go to festivals and stuff, but well, actually, I've met some people lately that I might be able to do more with, but it's a language barrier is kind of a thing too, so. Russ, how do you organize your work schedule to get as much done as possible? It's a mess. If I actually, I just try to figure out what's the I don't have it. What I do is I figure out priorities, and then like for the day, like what are those priorities? And then sometimes if like the mood really takes me, I can kind of shift to something else maybe for that day. Because what happens is if I schedule time, you guys have seen how great I am with my time estimates. All right. So imagine having all this stuff planned, and then you get 20% of it done. Yeah, it's a morale killer. So, or else different things or you just cut things off when you shouldn't. So, it's just figuring out what needs to. So I just kind of work. I just try to, make time for exercise, make time to work on stuff, and then by the end of the day, I'm usually exhausted and usually have like an hour or two for like entertainment, like a movie or a game or something. So, and that's most games, and things can come up. Like I have appointments I have to go to, or paperwork I need to get taken care of, or things like that. So, any updates on VR? Yeah, well, I'll maybe do another video eventually, but though that's not one on my list. That's not one of the 5 I'm trying to get done here. I think HP and who else was it? HP for certain announced a 21 by 2160 panel they're working on, which it's looking likely that's going to come out this year. But they didn't give the prices though. So I think some estimates were saying like around 500. So which, again, that's a lot. I completely get that's way out of the spectrum of most people interested in it. Again, if you're just interested in dabbling VR, the Windows Mixed Reality is probably your best bet when those are on sale. I think I've seen those down to like 155 or 150 when they're on sale. So, Lenovo, Dell, HP makes one of those, Acer, but basically all those except Samsung. Samsung makes the higher end one. Yeah, there's I think I heard, maybe I'm just tripping, I gotta double check it. Valve actually might be working on one and they were toting like 135 degree field of vision specs. So, yeah, it feels like the late 90s as far as how the technology's going. It's because it's like, man, I really want to pull the trigger in getting one, but it's like just clearly better stuff coming around the corner. And unfortunately, the cost of this makes it so that I kind of want to just keep waiting until I have something good enough. I don't know. Because I'm still on that donated DK2 that I have. But there's some... Well, that's another reason I'm going to have to go to Windows 10. A lot of this stuff isn't supported on 7. Like the Windows Mixed Reality ones aren't. Like if I was going to buy one today, if I have to buy one today, it would either be the Samsung Odyssey Pro... Oh, no, Samsung Odyssey Plus, not Pro, or the Pimax 5K, but one of those two. I'm not sure. But it's like, man, it keeps feeling like it's going to pay off if I keep waiting. So I'm not on Windows 10 already. I've got plenty of stuff to do. So I'm gonna keep kicking the can down the road on this, but man, I want to get one. Okay. What was the song during the credits of a Human Revolution episode of Game Dungeon? That's from Deus Ex Human Revolution. It's one of the action tracks. I don't even know if it has a title. But yeah, and what's funny is that's one of the most distinctive tracks of the game. The action music there. So, are you looking forward to Subnautica's Antarctic expansion? Yeah, well, I'll wait. I just played it. I mean, Subnautica, I beat it like last month, I think. So I'll let it simmer down, let the expansion come out, see how people think it is, wait till it's like mega on sale. I waited on Subnautica and it came out for free. So, and the industry is just training me to wait. I mean, well, yeah, right now I'm focusing on the abandonware stuff because, hey, maybe I can't wait on some of that stuff. Maybe I get it and it's gone next month, So, I'm afraid no updates on the Life is Strange music stuff, but don't worry, it'll happen. If you were given the choice of having no software bugs but quadruple the bugs in your room, or having no bugs in your room at all but having quadruple the software bugs, which one would you pick? I'd take the quadruple the software bugs. I don't like bugs. So I kill them. What gave you the idea to add the area behind the barn in the latest Freeman's Mine episode? I felt like Freeman seeing the G-Man was such a big deal for him. Like, oh, my one contact to reality, because I mean, he brought me here. Kleiner's who knows where. Barney's who knows where. I'm going to this place. I'm not sure where it is. This is the one guy that Freeman, it's like real important to be in contact with, find out what the plan is or get a briefing. Like, he's not just going to settle, okay, he's not in the barn, what? How would Freeman not want to search the surrounding grounds, And of course, the game doesn't let you do that, but it wasn't a huge deal, I think, for the mapper to create a new area behind that. So it's like, yeah, let's do it. I mean, it comes back to me thinking that how would Freeman behave? Okay, I've gone past 3 hours. This is getting crazy. Okay, I'm just gonna pick a few more. I think next time in the chat we're gonna have to cull past a certain point because this keeps happening. Let's see. So you're gonna have to play Battle Royale on whether your questions get to the top here is what's gonna happen. Which might lead to some pretty extreme manipulation knowing Reddit, but oh well. Let's see. Because I sincerely thought this was going to be like a shorter episode. It's like, oh, great, don't have to go as long, Something about custom characters, I don't have a strong opinion anyway. Do I have a bug out plan if the Russians invade Poland? No, but I'm a resourceful person. In the crew, the song you called the most intense song, Kids Playing on the Beach, what was it? Oh, that was, I think it was called Kids or something. It's in the, there's a little text thing on the video. Come on, you got to do better with questions than that. I mean, I got to understand, okay, like the Deus Ex one, maybe that wasn't completely clear to people because, look, I'll say this as a rule. If you hear music in the video and I just have no mention of it in the credits, that means it's from the game itself. That's what it means. So, because I figure why credit oh yeah, it's video about the game, including music from the game. I mean, that saves me some time on credits. So yeah, you can rest assured if there's just no mention of it in the credits at all, then it's from the game itself. Otherwise, I try to credit everything. So, all right, I think that's it. I'm gonna get back. Hopefully, something happening with videos. A lot's gonna happen with videos. Hopefully, something comes out this month. Those aren't the same things. And I'll try to have some sort of game session with people. We'll figure that out. Okay, that's it. Thanks for showing up. More stuff coming. A lot of stuff coming this year. Stuff coming this month, hopefully. Okay, bye.